sung blue, everybody knows one. Song sung blue, every garden grows one. Me and you are subject to the blues now and then. But when you take the blues and make a song, you sing them out again. You sing them out again. Song sung blue, weeping like a willow. Song sung blue, sleeping on my pillow. Funny thing, but you can sing it with a cry in your voice. And before you know it, get to feeling good. You simply got no choice. Subject to the blues now and then. But when you take the blues and make a song, you sing them out again. Song sung blue, weeping like a willow. Song sung blue, sleeping on my pillow. Sing it with a cry in your voice. And before you know it, started feeling good. You simply got no choice. Song sung blue. Song sung blue.
Full Base Heavy Duty Repair Shop. fullbay.com/profit.
We hear your speech.
Okay, we will call to order the meeting of the Sanford City Commission for Monday, April 13th, 2026. First order of business is our legislative prayer, which will be offered by Minister Kevin Vasquez of the Iglesia Vida Nueva. Everyone rise, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, We thank you for the opportunity to gather here today in service to our community and the beautiful city of Sanford. And Lord, we lift up our city leaders, city commissioners, staff, and all present, and grant them wisdom, discernment, and integrity as they make decisions that impact our neighborhoods, our families, and future generations. And Father, we recognize the diversity of our community, people from different backgrounds, cultures, and experiences. Help us to work together in unity with mutual respect and understanding, seeking the common good for all. We pray for every family in our city, for peace in our homes, safety in our streets, and opportunity for our children. Strengthen those who serve daily to make this community a better place. And Lord, guide the conversations in this meeting. Let truth, fairness, compassion lead every discussion. And Father, remind us that leadership is service. May every decision here reflect a heart to serve people with love and excellence. We place this meeting in your hands and trust you to guide every outcome. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. Appreciate that. Great. We have a number of presentations, and we will start with the Citizens Academy graduating class 24.
Mayor and Commissioners, City Manager, City Attorney, City Clerk, I am standing here before you proud to introduce our Class 24 graduates of the Citizens Academy. This class speaks to the most of civic engagement. It is a dedication of these individuals that decide to learn about local government and why we do the things that we do, and make it clear and understandable to sometimes very strategic and integrated processes. And so there were 35 students that joined the Citizens Academy. This is class 24. We started several years ago. Matter of fact, there are several of you on the commission that are Citizens Academy graduates, as well as several people in the audience, city employees, and I understand some members of the police volunteers that were Citizens Academy graduates that became police volunteers for the city of Sanford. And so I just wanted to go through what 10 weeks in the Citizens Academy looked like for these individuals. And like I said, it was 10 weeks on Wednesday evening from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It's a free course. Sign up, first come, first serve. The only qualification is that you have to be 18 years of age. And I'm going to go through their particular schedule. So the first night, we met way back on February 4th here in this room where the city manager, the city clerk, our assistant city manager talked about the basics, the very basics of government. Then we went to the Sanford Fire Department. Do y'all remember that? Thank you to all the staff, by the way, for making this class so awesome, because without our directors and their teams, it wouldn't be what it is. Sanford Police Department was next. That was also a fun night. They saw the K-9 demonstrations. They toured the public safety building, met the police chief and several of his command staff. We went to the utility department, to our new building on 1792. That was the first time that we had gone there. And they have a new conference room, and they learned a lot about what our utilities department provides. Then we went to Public Works. That is the Public Works complex. They saw several demonstrations, including this here, which is an example of, I think it's this, no, that's the stormwater demonstration, of how we actually can visualize what's in those pipes underground. Development Services was in this room. And they have the great chicken caper all the time. I'll let them explain that, or you have to join class 25 to figure that one out. Community Development and Neighborhood Engagement was next, with Human Resources and Risk Management. They met in our utility training room. And Parks and Recreation We were at the Sanford Civic Center, and what they do is like sort of like a speed dating type of scenario where all the departments, all their divisions meet with each table, and there's quite a few, and it took 2 hours, and we could have been there more, longer. Economic development is always a fabulous night of learning. They took a bus tour to the Orlando Sanford International Airport and learned about the history of the airport and as well as the airport itself. And then finally, we ended with the finance department, where the Academy members learned how to balance the city budget. And that was an interesting task. So that was the 10 weeks, and believe you me, it goes by so fast that it's quite unbelievable. But we are at 24 classes with approximately 600 graduates at this point, that I think some have gone on to be committee members, volunteers for the city of Sanford on several of our boards. That being said, the next class is September 2nd, and we'll open the applications in June, and it'll be available on our website and social media. So that's that. Are there any questions from any of the commissioners who went through the Citizens Academy?
Yeah, I love it.
Can we raise your hand on who went through the Citizens Academy?
Mayor, come on, you're next. I want to know what this class decided to cut when they did the finance.
Yeah.
You.
My job? Okay.
Cindy switched it up, actually, at this time. They had, like, play money and Skittles, actually.
Skittles? Okay.
Okay, well, so now we come to the wonderful part that we've all been waiting for, is to have the folks come up and receive their certificate. So it's been a pleasure getting to know everybody. We're going to call your name up one by one, and then if you would remain up there, we'll take a group photo. And you could stay for the rest of the commission meeting, or you can leave. But thank you.
I got an email from Victoria Huggins. I don't know if she sent it to everybody or not. When she said it. She wants me to read her statement because she couldn't be here.
So when you hear your name called, please come on up and just wait here. But we are waiting for the symphony to start playing their music. The Love Band. And Juana Andrews. Scott Arnett. Gabriel Caldwell. Harold Halleck. And Scott Cowan. We actually have date night on Wednesday nights here, by the way. If you didn't know that, you get a free meal to learn about local government at the same time. Nia Davis. Leanne Deabrut. Monique Ayal. Patricia Graves. Sierra Hardaway, a city employee also. This is a great program for employees also. Susan Klink. Ashley Knight. Dan Matthews. Adam Mazer. Jane Miles. Danielle Nelson. Beverly Oliver Greenway. Chantel O'Toole. Hunter Peterson. Joanne Rumba. David Rosen. David Stephen. Hannah True. Amber Werner. Dustin Warren. Wileen White. I didn't miss anybody, did I? Okay. You have the class 24. A round of applause.
I think I speak on behalf of the entire class when we give you a huge thank you. This is a free program, we understand that, but more than that, the passion of the employees that spoke to us, they really care about not only their own jobs, but the city, And it's made, I think, all of us really appreciate the time and effort you all put into it, because it was Wednesday night. You could have been doing anything else, and we appreciate you being there. So thank you.
Yes, and I will advocate for other city employees. At first, me being new to this organization, I was like, oh gosh, every Wednesday I'm going to be at work all day and have to go here. But it was a beautiful experience. I got to learn more about my coworkers and just overall government. Even as a city employee, sometimes you don't understand who your neighbor is, who office is right beside me, what they're doing, and how they're benefiting this organization. So it was a great experience, and I'm advocating for all city employees. So hopefully we'll be able to see some more in the next class.
Beverly wanted to say.
Hi. I would just like to say I think every citizen in the city of Sanford should come to the class. I am currently trying to recruit my 4 grandchildren, ranging from ages 19 to 27. And then I have a personal story. You guys are so great that work for the city. Last week, and it was raining, and he did not have to stop. The guy that sits as one of the guards at the front desk, he's there most of the time. Well, I dropped my glasses in the parking lot, and one of the lenses popped out. And he stopped. He was heading home, and he stopped, and he helped me find the lens for my glass. Isn't that something? So yeah, so you guys have great people working for the city of Sanford.
Hi, I'm Monique Ayala with, I did it as part of like business, networking with Decision Tactical. It was not at all, I don't know what I expected, but it far exceeded all expectations. Learning all the different aspects. I felt like a little kid, like back in school on field trips, like in awe every week, learning something new about how things work. I mean, if you don't know that you should not put oil down the drain and that you need to solidify it, and I can go on, but everyone should do it. I agree with this class. Thank you all who volunteered, and of course, I'm a little biased with Chief Cecil and the police department.
Thank you, Lisa.
And on behalf of the City Commission and the entire city, thank you all so much for making this effort and putting the time in. It's great that you're getting involved and you're understanding the city. And as somebody said, we would love if all of our residents knew everything y'all know about our city. And thank you, Lisa. Congratulations.
Thank you. All right.
I've paid my dues time after time. I've done my sentence, but committed no crime. And bad mistakes, I've made a few. I've had my share of bad kicks in my face, but I've come through. I need to go on. We are the champions, my
And then we have a couple of proclamations. The first one is for Arbor Day. See, the airport is in the house. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture the establishment of a day dedicated to the planting of trees, thus creating Arbor Day. And whereas Arbor Day was first celebrated in Nebraska, where more than 1 million trees were planted, and has since grown into a global movement. And whereas trees are an integral part of a healthy ecosystem, helping to reduce the erosion of precious topsoil by wind and water, lower carbon emissions, conserve energy, mitigate climate change, and improve air quality and water quality. Whereas trees provide habitat for wildlife, support biodiversity, and are essential to the regeneration of natural resources, offering renewable products such as wood and paper that can be sustainably managed. And whereas urban forest and green spaces provide countless benefits, including improving the mental and physical well-being of citizens, reducing urban heat islands, enhancing air quality, and promoting a sense of community. And whereas the city of Sanford, Florida, through its steadfast commitment to sustainability, has proudly maintained the designation of Tree City USA for over 38 years, demonstrating the city's ongoing dedication to preserving and expanding its green spaces for the benefit of all. And whereas Arbor Day provides an opportunity to educate citizens on the importance of environmental stewardship, including reducing waste, conserving water, and supporting the restoration and preservation of natural habitats for future generations. Whereas tree planting and green initiatives contribute to a healthier, more resilient environment, helping to combat the challenges of climate change, loss of biodiversity, and pollution. Now, therefore, I, Art Woodruff, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Sanford, Florida, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 24, 2026 as Arbor Day in the city of Sanford, and urge all citizens to actively participate in sustainable practices, support the city's community forestry program, plant trees, reduce their carbon footprint, and work together to protect and nurture our planet for present and future generations.
Yeah, just real quickly, like the mayor said, we're on our 38th year. The proclamation helps us to work towards our 39th year as Tree City USA, which is a big feat for a city. We are doing our tree giveaway this year at Lowe's. This year it'll be on May 16th from 9 to 11:30. So we're giving away 125 trees, 25 butterfly gardens. And then with the WaterWise portion of it in the Lowe's, we're giving away, or Lowe's is donating a grill, a low-flow toilet, and then they're doing their shower head exchange. So we invite all the public to come out and enjoy the festivities.
Excellent. Robert, is that pre-registration for the trees?
It's, we're drawing tickets this year.
Next is Professional Landscape Architecture Day. And I believe do we have some landscape architects with us to receive it? No. Then Chris, you're coming up.
Oh, no.
You're the closest we got today.
Mr. Substitute.
Robert kind of does it too.
I work with them.
Oh,
That
then you
counts.
deserve the proclamation.
You should get two.
I didn't meet with Chris.
Oh.
I went with the architect.
Hey, we don't have much longer to pick on.
Whereas landscape architecture is the practice of analyzing, planning, designing, and managing the natural and built environment to transform vision into functional, healthy, and resilient spaces. And whereas during World Landscape Architecture Month, observed under the theme Landscape Architecture in Action, we recognize the visible impact of the profession on parks, streetscapes, campuses, and public spaces across our communities, and honor the licensed professionals whose work in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics supports the infrastructure and quality of life in the city of Sanford. And whereas as the nation approaches America 250 commemoration, we acknowledge the historic and ongoing role of landscape architects in shaping and preserving the American landscape, reflecting democratic values, cultural heritage, and opportunities for future generations. And whereas the licensed practice of landscape architecture serves to protect public health, safety, and welfare, ensuring that outdoor environments, from gardens and recreational spaces to stormwater and transportation systems, are designed with technical expertise and professional responsibility. And whereas landscape architects play a vital role in addressing environmental challenges, developing sustainable and resilient design solutions that restore ecosystems, reduce risk, and lessen long-term public cost. And whereas the economy and environmental quality of Sanford, Florida benefit from the contributions of licensed landscape architects and accredited educational programs which support economic development, tourism, and resource stewardship. Now therefore, I, Art Woodruff, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Sanford, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 1, 2026 as Professional Landscape Architecture Day. Okay. I'm not sure we have anybody for this one either. Do we have any police volunteers here?
Yeah.
All of y'all come on down.
Come on down.
Nikki. Who's got on here?
Regarding the police program. It's not a long, it's a long answer.
Yeah, ideally center you a little bit more on them.
Look at my shirt.
Did you Come here.
Okay.
I was thinking about it. I'm gonna say something like that.
Whereas citizens who volunteer their time to provide assistance, which cannot be measured in terms of dollars, volunteers provide a spirit of assistance that is invaluable. And whereas more than 100 million volunteers are working in their communities throughout the nation, giving up their time and talent and making a difference. And whereas volunteers are motivated by the satisfaction that they are helping their fellow citizens and by the appreciation they receive from the department and city they serve. And whereas volunteers are vital in our future, are vital to our future as a caring and productive community. And whereas an average of 38 volunteers gave their time to the Sanford Police Department, contributing 1,694.5 hours in 2025, saving the city over $55,900. Now therefore, I, Art Woodruff, by virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Sanford, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of April 19th through April 25th as National Volunteer Week 2026, and encourage all citizens of Sanford to join in this tribute to recognize those who volunteer their time and commending their efforts. Thank you.
Why are we not up there with the volunteers?
Hey, Mary Ellen, we all want copies of that picture.
Yes.
I just want to say thank you to all the volunteers. I feel blessed to work with you guys every time we go out to all the different events in the city. We couldn't do it without you. There's so much knowledge up here and talent. I just really appreciate all of you. And then on a side note, I don't know where Lisa went, but next year next year we got to come up first so I can recruit your class. But thank you, volunteers. I love you all. You're awesome. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much for all you do.
The story you're about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
He's wacky.
Okay. With regard to speaking before the City Commission, the facilitate public input, if you plan to speak on an item, we'd appreciate it if you fill out the yellow citizens input form, which you'll find in the back, and turn that in the back. They'll bring it forward. The public will be given an opportunity to speak on any item before the city commission during a regular meeting. Longer. Chris? Okay, all right.
Especially with noise back.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Before the consent agenda, I will ask if anyone wants to speak on any of those items before the commission considers them during public hearings. I will ask if anyone wishes to speak before a motion is made on any item. During regular items, if comments are not called for and you have not turned in the yellow sheet, just raise your hand. When we get to that item, you'll be recognized. There's a 3-minute time limit for each speaker on each item, except for a person representing an organization presenting views during a quasi-judicial hearing. They are allowed 5 minutes. Citizen participation is between public hearings and regular items, and individuals may address the commission on any topic not on the agenda. There's a 5-minute time limit for citizen comments. That brings us to the minutes. March 23, 2026 regular meeting and work session, and March 28, 2026 goal setting session.
Second.
Motion second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Is there anyone in the audience that does wish to speak on any of the consent agenda items? See no one, I'll bring that to commission.
Move to approve.
Second. And that is A through J. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Brings us to our first public hearing, second reading of ordinance 4851. The screen.
An ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, further amending the City of Sanford Comprehensive Plan for a total of 6.95 acres in size within the city limits, consisting of 8 future land use amendments to assign a city future land use designation equivalent to those in unincorporated Seminole County at the time of annexation, providing for the rezoning of real property located within the city limits. The table of such properties are attached hereto as Exhibit A. Amending future land use map, providing for assignment of the land use designation for the properties, providing for adoption of maps by reference, providing for the taking of implementing administrative actions, providing for the adoption of maps and exhibits by reference, providing for ratification of prior actions, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, on March 5th of 2026, the city's planning and zoning staff voted to recommend that the City Commission adopt the ordinance to amend the comprehensive plan and modify the future land use for 8 properties totaling 6.95 acres to assign a city future land use designation equivalent to those in the unincorporated Seminole County. It is therefore staff's recommendation City Commission approve the ordinance number 4851.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Anyone for the audience wish to speak to this item? Was staff going to make a, did you have anything? Just if we have questions. Okay. And just to make sure the audience understands, these are properties that have been annexed, and we are just assigning the matching land use that they come from the county with. So I'll close the public hearing. Bring it to the commission for action.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion is second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Second reading of ordinance 4852, Ms. Green.
An ordinance of the City of Sanford, Florida, rezoning for a total of 6.95 acres in size within the city limits, providing for findings and intent, providing for amendments to the zoning map, providing for taking of implementing administrative actions, providing for the adoption of maps and exhibits by reference, providing for ratification of prior actions, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for non-codification, and providing for an effective date.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, at their March 5th, 2026 meeting, the city's Planning and Zoning Commission voted unanimously to recommend that the City Commission adopt the ordinance to rezone 8 properties totaling 6.95 acres. It is therefore staff's recommendation that City Commission approve ordinance number 4852.
This is a public hearing. Anyone wish to speak to this item? Okay. This is the same as the previous, except this is zoning rather than future land use. See no one, I'll close the public hearing. Bring it commission correction.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Brings us to the appeal denial development order 2605. A screen.
Mr. Mayor, staff recommends that the City Commission uphold the administrative official's denial of development order number 26-5 as proposed residential home occupation configuration is inconsistent with the adopted city master plan.
Okay, this is quasi-judicial, and so when agenda items involve quasi-judicial process, commissioners must disclose all ex parte communications, including the name and communicator and the time, place, and substance of the communication. Written communications, commissioners' investigation, site visits, and receipt of expert opinions must also be disclosed and made part of the record. Persons who have opinions contrary to those expressed in an ex parte communication may refute or respond to the communication at the hearing when they make their presentation. The quasi-judicial process, parties to the proceedings are generally the city and the applicant. Others who have legal standing to appeal the decision can also request to be recognized as a party. Parties are subject to cross-examination and must give their testimony under oath. Persons do not have to be a party to the proceedings to be recognized and provide comments. Members of the public who wish to make comments are not subject to cross-examination and are not sworn in as evidentiary witnesses. Comments of the public that provide facts relevant to the application can be considered in the decision. Qualifications of city staff are part of the agenda materials. All testimony and evidence provided to the City Commission must be competent, material, and substantial under Florida law. Guide to quasi-judicial proceedings has been published on the city's website, and copies are available in the rear of the chambers. So, those of y'all that will be testifying as parties, if you would please stand. State your names. Okay, raise your right hand, and do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give in the matters now at hearing will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, thank you. I did meet with Mr. Hollis and go over the plans with him last week, I believe, last Tuesday, and we just went through his plans and discussed options. I also received email, I think all of us received an email from an adjacent property owner.
I have nothing to disclose.
I got the email from the adjacent property owner, and I got an email from Mr. Hollis with his revised plans.
Okay. All right.
About the same email.
All right.
We just discussed with staff.
All right, Ms. Henson.
Okay. Warning you, it's kind of long, but bear with me. Okay. All right, so tonight we're here to discuss the St. John's Parkway mixed-use plan development. The project address is 4550 St. John's Parkway. There have been a couple other addresses through the review process because there's multiple parcels. But for tonight, 4550 St. John's Parkway is the project address. The applicant is Chuck Hollis with Third Wave Development. The property owner is currently Christopher Kelly. So this before you is a timeline. The City Commission approved a mixed-use plan development, which required commercial on the first floor in 2024. In 2025, development plans were submitted with no true commercial, and due to staff being unable to come to terms with the plans and the applicant unable to address staff's comments, the project expired, so the applicant requested an administrative determination. The determination was to deny the request based on what was submitted and its inconsistencies with the PD master plan. The applicant is here tonight to determine, the applicant is here tonight to appeal to the City Commission the denial development order issued at an administrative level. So we're going to go back to the beginning of the project. December 7th, 2023, the applicant submitted to the paper a CAP meeting advertisement. The purpose of their meeting is, as our CAP meetings require, to inform nearby residents, present their initial concept, and gather feedback. The applicant's public representation was a project described as a mixed-use development. It included multifamily units and commercial outparcels. Commercial frontage shown along St. John's Parkway.
The key takeaway from the earliest stages, the applicant publicly represented the project as a mixed use with commercial components consistent with the PD that was ultimately approved in 2024. So on April 12th, 2024, the first reading, there was discussion regarding the project. The commission discussed and then statements were made regarding to the ground floor of the live-work townhomes being commercial. The applicant confirmed that the elevation showing commercial frontage adjacent to St. John's Parkway. He identified the project as unique, like nothing else in Sanford, and complemented surrounding uses. I'm going to play some audio clips from the hearing, so they're a little bit long, but just listen through because this is what was discussed on behalf of the commission at the time.
Up with. Okay, so each of the little boxes is a single vertical unit?
That is correct. It's sort of think townhome, but then the section of it is, and it's got its own, each of them have their own garage, as do all the townhome units on the back, but the live-work units along St. John's Parkway, we wanted to have a commercial element along St. John's Parkway, but also have it, how do you do that and create a blend where it, I mean, we've got apartments all around us. And so typically what you would want to see, from a planning perspective is units clustered together rather than, sprawl. And so we've really worked, again, I live in one and it works phenomenally. I love it.
Okay, so a single renter will rent the entire
Correct.
Unit. Okay. And well, I'll have Eileen come up and answer, but not yet. Well, and then the units in the back are sort of the same, except the bottom floor is not.
That's correct. Right. And so what we were trying to do again, and so what we've done is we've pulled the buildings as close as possible to the road and pushed the parking in the back.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the tenet of, a facet of planning where, what you see is not parking right up, along the road. And so we're creating more character along St. John's Parkway than has ever been developed along that roadway, from my perspective.
And so the live work unit, that is the extent of any commercial.
Correct.
In the project.
Correct. And again, what we're trying to do is establish that new commercial use and not compete with all the retail that's there. Again, the old Palucci property, that's being developed now. There's retail that's under construction right currently. And so what we want to do is be good neighbors to it and have complementary commercial uses that are not retail that is competitive to what's already out there.
All right.
Okay, so the public hearing continued. The commissioners discussed the building makeups and the uses. Former District 2 Commissioner Mahaney inquired into the building mix. The applicant then explains creativity, step down, a blend of 3 and 4 stories. And
Thank you.
4-story.
Yes, ma'am.
4-story?
So
I understood the plan.
Four-story?
Thank you.
4-story.
Yes, ma'am.
4-story?
So the building on the left is 4, the rest is 3. So we wanted to step it down, and again, to try to add character to create almost 2 neighborhoods within one community. Again, I have toured all of Central Florida, and I have never seen anything quite like this.
okay, so the commission approved ground floor commercial storefronts showing commercial facade treatments, signage elements, glazing, and outdoor cafe areas, which you can see on the elevations before you. They have signage, shows Sprinkles Cafe. It has a patio area where people are outside eating and gathering. So these are the commercial storefronts that are relative.
Yeah,
He actually said that live-work units are two separate units. That's unique from what we were presented a month ago.
no, that's a single unit.
I know,
Yeah.
but
Yes,
they're actually.
why, that is why I'm making sure that we all agree to the same definition.
That's the definition we thought it was.
Yes.
So thank you, Mr. Holmes.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Eileen, I have one quick question for you.
So as discussed, that was compared to some prior commercial first floor that turned out to not be commercial first floor in a previous development.
Yeah.
He actually said that.
So 2024, Commission adopts ordinance 4799. It was a mixed-use PD with mixed building types, commercial storefronts along St. John's Parkway with a maximum of 337 multifamily units, 24 live-work units, and up to 36,440 square feet of required GC2 commercial space. The first floor of the live-work must remain commercial.
Is there anything to require that the bottom floor remain office retail? Other than that's what it's described as in the PD?
Or anything to require, like, you could put something in the development order as one of the additional conditions if you feel that that's necessary to make sure that it maintains that. We worked with the applicant to get commercial along that frontage because it is St. John's, just like our other main roads. It provides for that commercial frontage. But yeah, an additional condition would not be objected to by staff, stating that the first floor must remain some element of commercial.
Okay. Mr. Hollis, do you object to that? Okay. And I'm not, I know that is your plan, but I also know how things go eventually. So, okay. Okay, thank you. All right, so I would like to add that as a condition, that the first floor of the live-work units are required to
remain
some element of commercial. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the development plan was then submitted by the applicant. There was a change in use and design mix, reducing the mixed building types that were previously described, and there are now 4 four-story apartment buildings and 3 townhome buildings at 2 stories each. They eliminated the formal commercial and carriage homes that were noted on the PD, and then the DP was reviewed by staff, and after consensus was unable to be achieved, it expired because of our statutory timelines. So the proposed 3-story live-work townhomes that were approved with the PD had dedicated commercial on the first floor, as we heard discussed by the City Commission. The public storefront had glazing, signage bans, commercial facades. There were no residential kitchens, bathrooms, or private living areas spoke of on the first commercial level. The residential living space were located on floors 2 and 3. There was a clear separation between what was commercial activity and what was private residence. The PD required a commercial use, not a residential space with an option to flex. The proposed 2-story townhomes that came in with the development plan are now 2-story residential townhomes that on the first floor include a garage, which the Commission was aware of because that was spoken of, but it also includes kitchen and living areas, interior stairs, and a small enclosed workroom that would be shielded by a barn door with no separate commercial suite, no storefront or outdoor cafe areas, no commercial parking, and no determined ADA access. The building functions as a dwelling with limited optional use area, not a mixed-use unit with the dedicated live-work space. So home occupations are residential, not commercial. A home occupation is an activity that's conducted by the applicant and maintained within a dwelling unit and shall be incidental to the primary residential use of the premises. It's generally defined as conducted within a dwelling unit, incidental and subordinate to the principal residential use. Flex space inside a townhome cannot satisfy the requirement for the dedicated commercial space or GC2 commercial uses. Home occupations are residential accessory uses occurring only as incidental and ancillary activities within a primary dwelling unit, not as a commercial use. So the 2025 development plan no longer has a dedicated mixed use. It's residential with an optional second use. 36,000 square feet of commercial is now 0 square feet of committed commercial. The live work as previously defined has been modified. The carriage homes were either removed or not identified, and the mixed building types became 4 four-story buildings. So the loss of commercial on the first floor from the planned development to the development plan. The approved PD showed first floor dedicated commercial use. PD required 36,000 square feet of GC2 commercial, and it had public-facing commercial road frontage. The development plan proposes first floor residential use with an option for flex space. Commercial square footage dedicated is 0. The flex space is part of the dwelling and not a true commercial space. So a single room inside a home cannot replace an entire commercial floor. So applicant reversed prior commitments by asserting that the limited flex space within the residential living area qualifies as commercial. A home occupation satisfies the PD commercial requirements, and they were unable to address staff comments due to disagreement on the PD requirements. So under the proposed development plan, live work is optional, not guaranteed. Townhome owners may or may not use the flex area for business. There's no requirement that any unit operate a commercial use. If used for work, the space is residential and incidental. If used for work, the resident loses usable residential space. If not used for work, the unit is 100% residential, and either way, the PD's required commercial is not provided. So the PD required commercial space, not an optional flex space. The potential barriers under the new design. Customers enter through the residential front door. Only restrooms available for that commercial space is within the private living space. No commercial parking is provided on the plan, and outstanding questions on fire separation and ADA access remain with staff. So the commercial opportunity is limited to meeting space for individual clients, not full office, retail, or cafe use, as was shown in the PD master plan originally. You can see on the floor plan, which is in your staff report as well as on the report in front of you, that the area dedicated in these individual units is somewhere around 150 square feet. So, administrative official issues a denial development order, finding the request inconsistent with the PD master plan, the development order, the ordinance, city commission stated intent, the GC2 commercial standards, and the applicant's 2024 representations and testimony. The administrative official determined these changes require a PD amendment. These changes alter the use mix, the building form, the commercial square footage, and the public-facing function of the PD. Such changes exceed the scope of the administrative interpretation and require a formal PD amendment under the land development regulations. So the applicant is appealing the administrative official's decision under Article 4, Section 10A of the land development regulations. The matter is now being brought before the City Commission as a quasi-judicial hearing. So some other information that was brought to the applicant's attention early on, which is why staff worked with the applicant to pursue commercial uses, was based on the east-west connection road and the extension that is now called St. John's Parkway. It was funded as an industrial access infrastructure. State and federal grants required non-residential job-creating development. Corridor designed Westside Industry and Commerce to align with funding purposes. The PD incorporated a 36,000 square foot commercial consistent with funding intent, and removing the commercial contradicts the stated purpose of the publicly funded roadway. The roadway was funded as an industrial access project, not a residential one. Funding sources tied to the east-west connector required non-residential economic development outcomes. So roadway funding initiatives. The Florida EDTF, which is the Economic Development Transportation Fund, was utilized along the east-west connector road. The EDTF funds are legally restricted to projects that support industrial or commercial job creation, provide public access to non-residential development, and enable utility and power upgrades for business use. It's not optional, it was statutory. Okay. The roadway funding initiatives, the Florida DCA, Economic Development Infrastructure Grants, require non-residential outcomes. DCA grants, active in 1999 through 2003, were restricted to industrial access, commercial corridor improvements, and infrastructure supporting job-producing land uses. Other funds that were used by the county and city as part of their capital programs also required commercial corridor development, utility power upgrades for business parks, and industrial access improvements. The nexus between the roadway funding and the required commercial uses. The St. John's Parkway funding, the PD was approved as consistent with an original purpose of the roadway. It included 36,000 plus square feet of commercial, ground floor commercial storefronts, a mixed-use development, and public-facing commercial activity. The requirement was consistent, not arbitrary. The original purpose of the roadway, the funding conditions that justified its construction, and the economic development goals of the West Side Industry and Commerce future land use designation. So the project fails the public trust and roadway funding purposes if the PD approval of commercial access, commercial corridor development, and job-creating non-residential uses, the original PD upheld that purpose, 36,000 square feet of commercial, true mixed-use live-work buildings, and public-facing commercial frontage. The development plan then erodes that purpose. There's no single commercial floor, no dedicated commercial frontage, no committed commercial square footage, and the optional flex space / home occupations do not create enough commercial activity. So the DP undermines the public purpose of the roadway investment and the intent of the east-west connector. So why it was not approved administratively? By requesting an administrative determination, the applicant sought to remove the dedicated commercial floor, allow ground floor to be garage, kitchen, living area, and optional flex space, removing dedicated commercial use. Redesign the live-work buildings from 3 to 2 floors, eliminating a building type committed to in the PD. Remove the committed mixed-use component and replace it with potentially single-use residential, and change the building heights, massing, and mixed use. The denial determined the PD requirements have been materially altered, and it was determined that a formal PD amendment is required for the project as designed. So with that, staff recommends that the City Commission, or requests that the City Commission uphold the denial development order because the ground floor commercial was required. The home occupations are not a substitute for that commercial space. The PD proposal contradicts 2024 PD commitments. The PD requires commercially constructed and commercially functional space, and this degree of change requires a formal PD amendment to remove those requirements. Any questions?
You have done your homework.
Yeah, where was commercial parking originally? Was there a layout that showed that?
The PD is this one. So it was calculated in, I think the easier way to show this is here. So in your chart, in your reports, this chart, so you can actually read the numbers, but there's an actual dedicated calculation for the commercial parking.
It was only calculated though, it wasn't shown.
It was, right, but it was based on, so they had intended commercial uses, required commercial parking at 1.5 spaces per residential unit, 1 space per 500 square feet of commercial, includes garage for carriage homes and live-work units. The total parking supply was designed to support mixed use, including customers, employees, and residents.
Okay, but I think go back to the one that showed the cafes.
This here, or?
Yeah, go one more. Maybe it was forward. There was another view of that was further away.
A view, oh, yeah. I have, those are the square footage things. It's long. This one? That has the whole length of the building on the left there.
Yeah, okay, so the picture we have, it makes it look like there's parking to the side of that, but I can't really tell. And all of the diagrams make it look like all the parking was behind these buildings anyway.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Behind the building and to the left.
Right, but for development standards, the PD was designed to incorporate commercial parking to accommodate for the commercial uses. And those are no longer on the DP at all.
Okay. Maybe not okay. Say that again.
Okay, so.
Oh, I found the table. I understand now.
Okay. So on the parking on the table on the right.
There's nothing that says non-residential parking.
Correct.
Okay.
It's just been eliminated, i.e. noting that they're eliminating commercial use. So there's if a guest were to come, they only have 1.5 spaces per unit as it is. And our minimum is 2. They've reduced it down to 1.5, and then they've added no additional commercial parking for the commercial that may or may not exist.
Well, and there, figure 6 development plan, I think that's, would remove commercial. They have two spaces per dwelling unit. Instead of,
Standard parking.
Okay, so
yeah, so they went up half a space per unit, but.
Right.
Okay. But that still does not include non-residential parking. Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions?
No, thank you. Ann.
Okay. Mr. Hollis?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the commission. Eileen, how do I access the presentation that we?
you want, well, you sent a series of PDFs to Adam, so he created a PowerPoint for you.
Okay, how do I access it?
There's a PDF in his folder. So that should work you through the whole thing.
Okay. So I think I'll start with a little bit of background. And so this piece of property, there's a reason it hasn't been developed, and everything else around it has. Okay, so if you look at the shape of the property and how narrow it is as it approaches Reinhardt Road, the power lines that consume a very significant portion of the property, and then the conveyance ditch, an 80-foot wide conveyance ditch that was deeded to the city by the Kelly family. All of that was done for economic development reasons. So what staff is suggesting here is that really St. John's Parkway and this piece of property is really an economic development tool. And so what I would submit to you is that the Kelly family and subsequent owners, i.e. our firm, of the property are complying with that. We are contributing to that. And so the Kelly family deeded some portions of the St. John's Parkway roadway along with Reinhardt Road. They also provided for the stormwater ponds. So you can see there's, if you look at, and I'm going to step up to the, just to try to point this out.
Go 2 forward. On the clicker, go 2 forward. Go 2.
Thank you, Eileen. So if you look at the easement that encompasses the power lines running north and then east-west, you can see where that creates a very small usable parcel in that sort of triangular area. And then the large stormwater pond for a 17-acre parcel of land, it really limits the development opportunity, to the east of it. And then the balance of the parcel along Reinhardt Road is a very narrow sliver. So the owner of this parcel, they tried to market it as retail. Nobody was interested. They tried to market it as industrial. Nobody was interested. So when we're talking about West Side and industry and commerce, how do you really effectuate that? It's easy to kind of put a designation on a piece of property, but really in practice, how does that work? So what we were able to do is to come up with a program, and ultimately agreed with the commission back in 2024 that we would create these live-work units. It was stated very clearly that it was not intended to be retail. Because if you look at the residential versus non-residential units or you know, acreage in this corridor, there's a ton of non-residential area. So when we're talking about commercial, I think what we're really saying is retail. I mean, obviously Seminole Town Center, you know, is undergoing a redevelopment process right now. I wouldn't think you would want industrial right across the street from, you know, the Walmart, heading into what is the corridor for your gateway to Seminole Town Center. You're going to want to have a more, you know, sort of homogeneous feel in terms of how to get to that gateway. And so that's what we did. That's what we came up with. So it was very clear that the extent of the commercial development that was to be incorporated within our project were the live-work units. So that's what was approved by the commission unanimously. Following that, we got into the engineering side of it even further and met with FPL. Originally, if you looked at what was approved, that master plan, it included parking underneath the power line areas and in that easement. FPL notified us sometime after our approvals that they would not approve, they would not allow. And so again, let's go back to 1.5 spaces per residential unit was the total amount of parking provided for the project. There was not some additional 36,000 square feet. We estimated that the live-work units were approximately 36,440 square feet. And so that was the commercial component. It wasn't the live-work units and 36,000 square feet. And Mr. Mayor, you and I spoke about that, you know, very, very explicitly, that the extent of the commercial are the live-work units. And so I also very clearly stated once again that I'm not trying to compete with the additional retail. So if you look up at the northwest corner, so again, going back to my statement about how to effectuate the intent of what is trying to be accomplished here, you've got a developer that has a retail development that he's trying to, just to the west of Story. He's inhibited by stormwater ponds, just like I'm inhibited by stormwater ponds that take runoff from the roadways. He's had that project approved for years, several years, and has emailed each of you his full support. He's not been able to get tenants to sign up because he has inferior access, and it just doesn't work for a retail perspective or other type of commercial. So what we've done, without being asked by staff, by the commission, we provided him with an access point running through our parcel to get out to the traffic signal at St. John's Parkway and Reinhardt Road. So again, we're trying to work through the different aspects of a very difficult site that has a lot of constraints about how to mix the uses. So in my view, the mixed use component is live work. We stated Maitland City Center multiple times in the last commission meeting. And the Maitland City Center units, with respect to the live work aspect specifically, those are inside of a building in an interior corridor that you can't really tell until you get up you know, from the elevator that those are the live work units, and that's where they're designated. So these are completely separate units, and if you look at staff's report, figure 5, the PD site data sheet, it says that the maximum height for the commercial portion would be 35 foot to the peak, in parentheses, 2-story max. So we designed within that 2-story maximum, you know, parameter. So again, these units are large. They're almost 1,600 square feet for the smallest unit, almost 1,900 square feet for the larger units. They're separate from the rest of the community, and so I stand by what I said. This is a separate neighborhood within a larger community. The context of what these units look like, we have a commercial facade Everything that we agreed to is really substantive in nature to what we've submitted within our development plan. With that, I'll pause for a second. Does anybody have any questions about kind of where our thoughts have gone thus far?
But when we did the PD, wasn't it very clear the live work units would be 3-story?
So there was a concept image, and I think that's what people latched onto. There was a concept image of, and I was encouraged, so look to the maximum height that you would want. I didn't know if we would develop 2 or 3-story townhome units. And I said, think townhomes, but with a work component. Again, this is enhancing upon what is done in other areas of Central Florida, i.e. Maitland City Center, whereby those units are in a flat. There's one plane that's not 2 stories where there's, separation between the living areas, i.e. the bedrooms and laundry room and all those other sorts of things, and the work area. These live-work units, they're the only ones in the entire project where you have this meandering sidewalk literally right in front, and you have an access point from a pedestrian perspective to that front door, right? The resident enters from the garage. I mean, just like every one of us goes home and we go and we pull in our garage. So it was truly meant to be that sort of pedestrian frontage. And then if you look at the renderings and the elevations of what we provided, it's a very enhanced style and different style than what these residential buildings are, the 4-story residential buildings. This is Maitland City Center. These units, they come in from an interior corridor. There's additional, we circulated some memos. So there's other examples, throughout Central Florida about how these units work and function. You can see this one is just kind of a screen. It's not even the barn door concept.
I don't know how that's relevant. It's not the same WIC that we're looking at here. I mean, it could be a great idea, given where it's going to be. And maybe your great ideas are great somewhere, but I'm not hearing anything that disputes what we've been told through a very thorough presentation about why we can't do this. And yeah, it's a complex piece of property.
In what respect? So specifically,
in every respect that we've just gone through slides and slides and slides of. Nothing you have said tells me that you're justified in your approach here.
So as discussed in the approval meeting, the extent of the commercial was to be the live-work units. I have provided
First
those.
floor commercial.
Pardon?
First floor commercial.
Live-work. For commercial, I did not say, and I specifically stated that I did not intend for them to be retail.
I didn't hear that. I listened to that whole meeting as well, and I did not hear that. Let me ask you this. Why are you so wed to the combination of working and living on the first floor as opposed to all commercial?
So
why is that difficult?
In my office, I have a restroom. And I have
I'm sorry, but I don't care about your office. That's not what we're talking about here.
He has a live-work unit.
Well, I get that,
Okay.
but
because our planning department insists on jamming commercial into these properties that just isn't working right now. And so this is a concept
well, neither
he brought
is
to us.
adding that many more apartments where we already
This is a
have.
concept he brought to us, and at the time, that commission agreed that this was a novel idea, but worth exploring. Live-work units is what was supposed to be built downtown Sanford in Heritage Park.
If I may submit to the commission, so the land development code that the city has, the definition of a live-work unit is pretty broad, okay? And it basically states that it's a, you know, a studio apartment with space to both live and work, okay? We've, I think, very clearly well exceeded that. And I'm giving you examples with, you know, very well-respected developments within the Central Florida community that have been constructed, and I actually live there. And I explained all of these things and the way that it would function, the way that it would work, the way it would appear to, you know, from a pedestrian standpoint as well as, you know, vehicular standpoint. So, you know, if you look at the reference from the City Commission hearing at that time, and it was truly not intended to be retail, a separate, you know, entity on its own. It was intended to be, and that's what the commission approved. And Mr. Mayor and I just described that that's the extent of the commercial. There's not some new phantom 36,000 square feet of commercial that we could accommodate. And we couldn't have 36,000 square feet of commercial on a 1.5 parking ratio. The 1.5 parking ratio was calculated on the 361 units, right, of residential and or live work. So it just simply wouldn't work from a commercial perspective. You would never approve that. It would never fall within the GC2 guidelines. And so it's just simply physically impossible. So,
Again,
so I think it's a
challenging piece of
mischaracterization or a
property.
misunderstanding about what was actually approved versus what we have submitted and applied for.
No. I agree with you, Commissioner Thomas, and I don't think that it's that we're confused. This is not what was presented to us, and then basically what we're approving is whether it's consistent with the mixed-use plan. And I agree with Commissioner Thomas on that. What you're presenting to us does not match up with what was presented to us.
And the way it's intended to be used based on the funding that was approved, we're
20 years past that, and nothing has ever happened on that property for that.
I would
business.
just, if I may,
Go ahead,
just may
Attorney.
add, just with regard to a legal perspective, the issue before mayor and commissioners is not what the definition of live work is. The issue before the commission is what was agreed to for this development, and whether the plans that are submitted, whether they're consistent with what was agreed to. If it is the contention of the developer that the developer cannot do what was agreed to, that is why staff has determined that a PD amendment would be required. And that may get the developer where the developer wants to go, but based upon what is before you now, it is what was agreed to at that previous determination when that ordinance was adopted, and whether the plan is consistent with that. And it is not. And if it is not, then a PD amendment would be required to get the developer to where they want to go. Thank you.
Hold on just a minute. In the original development order, did it spell out the 38,000 square feet of commercial?
It did not. It reflected specifically to comply with the data tables that were in the PD master plan, which is what that top table shows you, that figure 5, which reflects multifamily, specifically including parking garages that they don't meet the total of right now, the spaces of 1.5 per unit, the land use mix that was depicted on it. It reflected back to the PD master plan in the development order.
And to that point, a development order can consider and is also inclusive of all testimony and evidence that was presented during the adjudication of that matter, which is why it would be important, and I did go back and review and listen to the tapes for that meeting. It would be important to know what was testified to and what was agreed to at that meeting, because that is incorporated into the order.
Okay.
My name's Todd Norman, Nelson Mullins. Joe Thacker, who I know you've worked with on this, Joe's husband had a procedure today, wasn't able to attend, so I'm attending in her place, represent Third Wave. To be clear, so what she said is exactly right. You have to consider whether what we're doing is consistent with what you approved. And I know a couple of you at least have some significant concerns with that, probably all of you. So I'd like to walk through and make sure that we've addressed those concerns directly, because I think there might be a little bit of confusion here. There are 38, I think it was 36,000 square feet. Mr. Hollis was asked directly, and it's on the tape, and I think you guys have heard it, a clip of it was played earlier. Is the live work the extent of the commercial? And he said yes. He was very clear on that that would be the only commercial. So then the question is, have we brought you live work in the concept that you were thinking about? And a couple other things on that. Remember that there was actually a motion to make it commercial space only. Actually, someone suggested that. And I don't know if you heard it because it kind of slid by there at the end. They did not say it would be commercial only. It would be of a type of commercial is exactly the words you guys decided to use. I'm not blaming anyone or saying anything, but
commercial, like
yeah,
Saul said, yeah.
some element. They use the phrase some element. That's right. So, and again, I'm not trying to blame or be confrontational. I'm trying to make clear what I think the record said, which was that some element would be. So you might be wondering, though, why are we so confused about live work here? Because shouldn't it just be, you know, look, the code says this is live work, you got it, you don't have it, good, not. Unfortunately, your code doesn't have a definition that you can directly apply to this. As Mr. Hollis said, the only place it comes up, it's very broadly defined, it's just basically a studio apartment with an office in it is sufficient. So that's all your code does. And so I think your staff is trying hard to set a precedent here of what they think the live work should be. And I respect that, that's their job. But I don't think that, in fairness to this developer, that was what was discussed. He hasn't shown the slide yet, but when you look at what he's designed, you've got a frontage that is clearly intended to be professional type retail. Well, there's a good picture of it. Yeah, professional like retail where you come in, a CPA has his sign above you, you come in the door under the CPA sign, there's an office there in front of you. That was the concept he thinks that was approved with live work. That this would be a situation where the person lived behind. Now, remember, you just heard too, and because you did point out, well, you know, you initially discussed 3 stories, and there's no doubt that's absolutely was true. You also heard him read, though, where it said the staff told him it was limited to 35 feet, 2 stories max. So you can't, and I don't mean this in a confrontational way, but you can't do both, right? You can't both meet 2-story max and build a 3-story building. I mean, there are things we can't do. And so it did get a little bit shoehorned in by the requirements staff put on, which is fair by them. They are entitled to have requirements, but it shoehorned it in a little bit. So it wasn't, and as you pointed out, Commissioner Thomas, it's very fair of you to say, well, why are you so wed to it? Well, when it shoehorns down to 2 stories, it becomes difficult to fit it all in. So understood your point exactly.
I don't want to forget, I take 100 notes. Eileen, you were talking about the restrooms, right? Because now he's talking about the concept and all of that. Did you say that the restrooms are only in the residential space?
Yes.
Okay, so that's not a concept that works for commercial if someone has to come in and then go into the residential space for the restrooms.
So I hear what you're saying, and you're right. Let's talk about that for a moment. So 2 issues on what you just described. One is that, of course, these aren't supposed to be pure commercial, and so understand it wouldn't meet the commercial code. What you just said, that part is 100% right. But the second thing you said is the more practical statement, which is, you know, for a traditional store or retail, there's no way you can have some guy come into your front door and go use your bathroom that's got, you know, I don't know, whatever. Your bathroom that's back there, that's the residential bathroom. I understand that. Again, this comes back to the problem that the code doesn't really define live work. He's trying to define something that isn't defined in your code. This is meant more for, as you saw, like an accountant who has someone come into his office who does most of his work in his office, in the front room, and someone can come in and fill a few things out. It's not meant for a heavy commercial usage. That's not what his concept was. We think it's consistent with what he said, because you'll recall, they played the clip, and I mean, I want to compliment staff, because they made sure they played full clips that explained everything. There was one place where he said, I don't want to compete with the retail across the street. I think he said, I can't compete with the retail across the street. He's not trying to do that. He's trying to do the kind of things he showed you, which are small storefronts that, you know, because again, in your house, if you have a 1,900 square foot house, you cannot have a substantial commercial activity in there. You can have a small segregated activity for a lawyer's office or an accountant's office or something like that. You cannot have heavy commercial use in 1,900 square feet and also have your home. That's just not possible. And so fitting in, again, this is the 3 stories had to come down to 2. There were, by both staff and he, give and take to try to get there. And your point, though, is very well taken, which is that it is you could not have any substantial commercial use like you're describing it and use a restroom of the person who lives there. But I don't think that's his concept. And the problem, I think the fairness to both staff and Mr. Hollis is, the problem has been your code doesn't have an actual definition of live work. And I mean that as no offense. I think most cities probably don't have that in their code. But it doesn't. And so he's trying to interpret what you guys talked about at the last meeting into what he thinks is the project. And your staff's interpreting it a different way. And, they're doing their best, and I know they are. But I do think, in fairness, his meets closest to what you talked about previously.
Council, I would just want to, over this way, I just want to clarify, it is not that staff is attempting to define live work. It is that staff is applying what the parties, the city and the developer, agree to as to how this project would be developed. And that's why it's pertinent and important to go back to what was represented at the time of the original meeting. And again, it does not mean that you don't get to where you want to go, but that the process in doing so, if you're wanting to deviate, either because you find the property does not meet what it is that you want to do, the market has changed, whatever it may be, you now have power lines or easements, whatever it is causing you, if it is deemed that you have deviated, it requires a PD amendment to get you to where it is that you want to be. But I don't want to be lost on this point of it being an issue of defining live and work.
I mean, I think your statement's fair. I would say that one thing, though, because it goes directly to what you just said, because I agree with everything you just said, it goes directly to that, right? Because for better or worse, these parties, if you listen to that tape, I'll bet you lunch they use the word live work 50 times during that meeting. And so somehow you have to define it because they're using the phrase. And they have to decide if they've met it. This commission has to decide if he met it with this proposal or not, if he's consistent, which is exactly what you
Not if this panel has come to the conclusion that it was clear that that first floor was to be commercial, then your issue of definition is irrelevant. It's what the parties agree to do. And it will be up to this commission and mayor to determine whether extensive commercial meant different facets of commercial, but definitely commercial on the first floor with these units above that. That is what the council will have to be determined. Now, mind you, your statements today are not evidence for the council. You've not been sworn in as a witness, so the only evidence that the commission can consider is that which has been testified to by the sworn in developer.
Okay, let's get this back over to the commission. Let me make a couple observations and then ask a couple of questions. In Figure 5, the PD site data sheet, the residential multifamily has 4-story, 3-story carriage building live work units. Okay. It doesn't say how tall the live work units would be. It doesn't say how tall the carriage buildings would be. Then underneath, where I assume it's talking about pure commercial, says it's a 2-story max. So as I remember it, and looking, back at the pictures and listening to the tape, I thought it was going to be a 3-story building, downstairs commercial, 2 floors of living above. Looking at these designs, and this is sort of some of what we talked about before, but raising the issue of the restroom. And I'm not saying that this will meet the requirements of the approved PD, but I'm sort of looking at where we can go forward. If the restroom was used to separate the commercial space from the living space, and the stairwell was reversed, so you don't go through the commercial space to get to the upstairs living space, is that feasible? Is it feasible to go to 3 stories? And is that a path that can get us to where we're trying to go? And I'm not really sure who I'm even asking that question to.
I was wondering the
Well,
same thing.
okay. I've been waiting patiently on the applicant. So as you've described it, there were residential multifamily, which included the multifamily buildings, which was the 4-story off on the west side. Then the east side of the property had 3-story, the townhome, live work, and what were going to be the carriage homes, as well as a couple of other multi-story buildings in between. The live work units fall under that section that they can be up to 4-story, but there was distinctly conversation between Commissioner Mahaney and the applicant that stated those buildings would be 3-story. Then there was discussion regarding the first floor being the commercial element. So the commercial piece here that says maximum height 2-story, as you've identified, that gives this PD the ability, if they should choose to, although the applicant has determined that that's not the path to go forward, they could build a 2-story commercial building on its own, but it was not to exceed 2-story because of the other buildings around it. There's 2-story across the street for commercial, and there's multi-story residential behind that didn't want multi-story commercial competing height-wise with the residential behind it. By doing the 3-story townhome, you've got the first floor commercial element, and then the 2 stories of which you could fit all of your, your unit spaces in it, which is the way that staff understood the PD to be based on what this element says. In addition, the commercial first floor, for every 500 square feet of commercial, was allocated a parking space based on the parking calculation. If there was a separate commercial building, it would have the same. But these charts are not charts that staff made. We did not force anyone into a design. These are both straight out of master plan and straight out of the development plan that the applicant has provided to staff to try to see if there is compatibility between the two. And staff does not see the compatibility with the DP that's been submitted to the PD that was approved by the commission. And our recommendation and eventually action for denial was based on the fact that the compatibility is not there. Therefore, the applicant is here before you, as noted by the attorney, to determine whether or not the actions that this commission took requiring certain elements to be present in this property are currently present, and if the existing presentation of the development plan meets those requirements.
Okay, thank you. Do you have comments on that?
Well, I would mention just the parking, just because it's been mentioned. To be clear, it was always 1.5. My understanding, I wasn't here at the first meeting, so I can only tell you what I've heard on the tape and what I've seen in the documents, which is it was 1.5, which is a compromise between the traditional commercial requirement and the residential requirement. It remains the exact same 1.5, so I don't want there to be, even though it's not labeled commercial on the current plan, it's still exactly 1.5. So I don't want there to be any misunderstanding that there's been some deviation.
Well, it says there were 2 for carriage and live work units. 2 per carriage, live work unit. And then an additional 1 space per 500 feet of non-residential.
Sorry for the delay. I think this is important to look at, to understand the context of what the original plan.
Okay, so you want the drawing or do you want the table?
Just the
This one? This is the new one? Do you want?
While we're waiting, Attorney Green, I just have a question. Should the commission be trying to figure out configuration? I mean, I appreciate what the mayor is doing, but should we be trying to do that? Because the mayor was talking about whether we should, how to do the bathroom and giving examples. But I remember Mr. Groot telling us that we needed to be careful about certain things that we, I want to make sure I'm saying the right thing because I'm not trying to get at art, but we should be careful about recommendations and anything like that. Should we be giving input about the configuration of the unit?
Ultimately, the issue before this day is whether what was presented by the developer is in compliance with the development order, including testimony and evidence that was presented. If it is not, then the recommendation from, in the administrative proceeding was to deny it. If you find that it is in compliance, then you have that decision. Now, there can be some discussions to see if there's an ability to resolve it, but that is the ultimate issue before this day.
That's the only thing that we're concerned about.
Again, you can have those discussions as
Mhm.
to whether there's a resolution, but the legal issue in front of this dais is whether it is in conformance, what is being presented is in conformance with what was approved.
Okay, one more question. So then, because staff has already given us their denial and they've cited it, does the commission have to come back and cite something different, or can we go with the suggested motion if the commission decided to do a denial?
Say that again,
I-
Commissioner.
We can go with the suggested motion, I think.
Yes, you're just making a motion.
Okay, because usually if we're going to denial, then we have to cite A, B, and C.
As to why.
As
there's
to
a
why.
basis for the denial.
But because we're gonna uphold, we don't have to do that now. We can just go with the
You can just
suggested.
go straight to the motion. Yes, Commissioner, thank you.
And if we do that, then they can do a amended PD, a PD amendment.
Let's get through this discussion first off.
Okay.
So I would just like to illustrate where the live-work element of this project, what was approved or what was included in the master plan, which was a much more densified product or project, that also you can see includes parking underneath those power lines, not available. But specifically with respect to these units out along St. John's Parkway, they're substantially similar to what we've submitted in our development plan application. If you also look, as we got into the engineering, right, we didn't have all the pond hydrology, we didn't have all of these things determined before we got to the initial approvals. If you look at the land area, that's all buildings in a small pond area. This is a massive pond with another massive pond and these power lines. It's not as though we're trying to change course whatsoever. We have to modify elements of our development plan based on given conditions that we uncover at the time that engineering studies reveal them. And so what we're talking about are the live-work units. They're the same units. That's really what we're talking about. So, I mean, if
Mr.
we're
Hollis.
looking at it strictly from a master plan standpoint, and recognizing that I specifically said I'm not trying to build retail, and I even said office is a four-letter word in real estate development at that time, because at that time it was. And so this was living and working from an office perspective. And yes, maybe somebody would have a cupcake shop or you know, a hair salon or something of that type. But anyway, I just wanted to make that sure that was very clear, that what we've done here that was approved is nearly identical to what we've submitted.
We have 3 buildings now of the same height, right, compared to what was,
They're now 2-story, and the residential is split between the first and second floor, whereas on the original renderings, the first floor was going to be commercial, and the second, third was living above those as one unit. The way it was depicted with the renderings and the discussion between the commission and the applicant. So staff is moving forward based on their understanding of what the master plan was supposed to delineate. As you can see, we've worked with the applicant. We understand that he can't have the parking in the FPL. We tried to assist in modification, but there is a distinct and material difference, and it's substantially different from the PD master plan in layout, building types, and enough of the master plan is not the same that staff had to deny it from their perspective.
yeah, and even though it sounds like you're trying to do the right thing, it's still very different from what it was. And I know you found more
I would suggest that it's an
challenges.
interpretation.
Yeah.
Okay, so the actual ordinance has pictures in it that shows 3-story apartments with first floor live work.
And then, again, in the testimony during the hearing, it was some element of commercial. and it was office, and it was not retail. Those are the consistent themes throughout that discussion.
Some office, some element of commercial could be daycare, could be office, could be retail, could be restaurant, could be cafe, could be widget making, could be a jewelry manufacturer. Any number of things are some element of commercial, but it's still the first floor.
But it wasn't the entirety of the first floor.
I was just going to say, I don't remember hearing anything that was, the first floor was exclusive use. There may be some assumption. And also, I would note that when they talked about the height of the buildings, they talked about that there was going to be a mix of heights, and that some were 4, and I think in that discussion, they talked about some 3 and some 2.
There was no discussion of 2.
I thought some of the carriage houses and stuff were, no?
There was no discussion of 2.
Okay. My understanding was it was, again, I wasn't there, so I heard the tape, so, but anyway, you have to decide. I think that the key, though, is you have to decide whether it was consistency with the idea that you guys had at the time, as discussed at the hearing. There can definitely be, disagreements on that. I think, from our perspective, he's brought something that is consistent with the same ideas that you had. Respectfully, staff doesn't think it's consistent with the ideas that were discussed. It's probably a matter of interpretation of what was important to people as they were hearing it that day.
Okay. I'm ready. All right, so just so I'm clear, it sounds like our options are, say that the development plan does meet the PD. Say that the development plan does not meet the PD, in which case, what is their path forward if we uphold the denial?
They need to resubmit a PD rezone application and get new approvals for a different data set table, building types, mix of uses, whatever they bring forth that meets what their goal is to develop. Because what their goal to develop right now to staff has been found inconsistent with what the commission approved 2 years ago.
Okay, and is there a middle ground, and this may really be a question for the attorney, where we specify what it takes for it to meet what we expected, deny it, and then they can submit a new development plan?
They could submit a new development plan. Right, if you uphold the denial of their current development plan, they can keep their current master plan, redesign their development plan to meet what that development, like the plan development, the concepts that were divided, submitted to you, the required minimums for commercial, required maximums for residential. You could lay out what the expectation was at the time and have them resubmit a development plan without a PD rezone. But whatever that DP comes in as has to be found consistent with what the commission anticipates this development is going to include. And right now, what it includes is on the top master plan, which he cannot build because FPL prevents him from doing a lot of that, in addition to the standards, which are included, that site data table that's in your staff report, which includes the residential multifamily, potentially a commercial building if they went that route, and then the parking that meets those requirements. So if they can meet what's in their current PD master plan with a new development plan, they could move forward.
All right, so, but in terms of the denial was based on just these buildings, right? The rest of it was okay?
No. I mean, that was the major hang-up point, was the fact that there's no commercial anywhere. There's a potential for live-work,
okay,
but none of those units
right,
can...
Set aside the live-work units.
Right.
Are there other issues with the development plan?
The lack of it being a mixed use.
Okay, well, that's
right,
the live-work
part of,
units.
right, the lack of it being a mixed use, the parking configuration based on that use, and then...
But I don't understand how the parking configuration changed.
Because they don't dedicate spaces for the commercial they don't dedicate. So if you created a first floor that was commercial, they have to allocate parking for that commercial, and then they have to put it back in the site data table, stating
Okay.
that we have these
So-
floors of commercial.
But they lost the table.
Nearly identical.
Okay, so here's my personal thought,
Mhm.
and then y'all can talk some more, but then it's a public hearing, we need to see if anybody else wants to speak. If we could clearly, where did the table go? Oh, there it is. If we could clearly separate the space downstairs, and to me, that would mean, if I come into your office and need to use the restroom, I shouldn't have to walk through your kitchen to get to it. Turn the staircase so that somebody coming downstairs from the bedrooms does not have to walk through the commercial space. They went from they've still got they went from 1.5 spaces per residential unit plus 2 spaces per live-work unit plus 1 space per 500 square feet of non-residential to 2 units for every dwelling unit.
No, that's the minimum calculation. What they've actually provided is below that. Right, they're only providing 1.5 spaces per
Okay.
unit,
All
no commercial dedication, therefore saying there'll be no commercial.
Okay, so, all right, so there have to be some work on the thing.
So-
And this can be done by reconfiguring the building or going back to 3 stories. And
Right now,
so in my mind, that would be, those changes would meet what I was expecting from the PD. I don't know about the rest of you.
I'm still
But,
confused.
wait, but it would still be, either we deny it and they come back with another development plan that meets those guidelines if the rest of the commission says, yeah, that we'll go along with that, if it comes back that way.
right, a development plan
Or-
doesn't have to come to you unless it doesn't
Right.
meet these requirements,
But
correct?
you will have
If
heard
they
us all
submit,
say, this is what we meant.
right.
Okay.
So if you look right now, we did some rough calculations. We did not have full dimensions, but we did some rough calculations. This is what one of the units that they're proposing. So the total occupiable space is about 1,370 square feet. The workspace is dedicated at about 138 square feet. That would be the commercial allocation maximum allowed for this unit. 138 square feet. So the garage is 198 plus or minus. The livable space minus the workspace and garage, if they use the workspace as a workspace and not as a living room, is 1,200 square feet. So the total unit space is about 1,500 square feet, including the garage. So the percentage of the workspace within that is 8%. Well, 9 if you round up. So this is one of the units. This is what's being considered commercial, and that's only if the person who rents the space uses it as commercial. If every one of these 24 decided they wanted all 1,500 square feet as residential, there is absolutely zero commercial. And the applicant has made it clear during our staff meetings, although it hasn't come up today, they've made it clear during our staff meetings, they're not going to require commercial. They scale the rent based on the use of the building.
That's a concern I have too.
Right.
So it
And
does
I had
not
that
meet,
conversation, how do you enforce that?
right, it does not meet that required commercial element, not being a mixed-use plan. So that's where staff falls in terms of it not meeting the PD requirements. So I don't know how to fix that with the development plan unless actual commercial space is dedicated and commercial parking is replaced back into the plan to meet those requirements as well.
Okay.
And another little question, Mr. Hollis, when you were talking about the barn door, is there a reason you chose a barn door versus something that's more of a wall with a door that separates the potential noise in the kitchen and the TV blaring in the living room from work that's trying to be done in the office space?
Sure, it's a commercially reasonable solution, and it's also what is in Maitland City Center which is the project that I represented and I modeled this project after and spoke with the commission about at that time.
Okay, but I'm sorry, but that's kind of not an answer. How do you mitigate the potential noise between the office and the living space with just a barn door?
Well, it is an answer in the fact that it's already built, and it's the project that I represented at the time.
Okay.
Let me suggest it a different way, though, maybe a more positive way. What I'm hearing, I think, is that there's a concern about separation more than whether he attempted to meet the design.
Well, separation and amount of space.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I do think, and Ms. Green can tell you if I'm wrong about this, and she will, but I do think that if you found it otherwise consistent and you're concerned that there was not a clear delineation, things like the mayor mentioned about perhaps turning the stairwell and thus creating a wall space and repositioning the bathroom, I don't think there'd be any reason those couldn't be conditions on your approval here tonight. If you think it's otherwise consistent, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but obviously if you thought it was otherwise consistent, I do think you could put those types of limitations on Mr. Hollis, and I do think that's fair. You know, again, he made his best effort to do it, but I understand there could be other good ideas that might delineate it better, and we certainly recognize.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Brennan.
I'm still confused because what I heard Attorney Green say is we're supposed to be denying, upholding what was brought before us about the development order and if we need to do the PD. I don't understand why we're trying to do configuration as the commission. We're not engineers. Eileen just gave us, I don't know how many square footages of what if this happened or that happened, or if you turn this into the living room or whatever. This is how we make a bunch of mistakes, by just agreeing and saying things here at the meeting. I heard Attorney Green, and she can correct me, is say what is before us is if we're going to move to uphold or not, based upon if this is consistent or not whether if we're changing things around. I'm confused
Because
with that matter.
they can come back with another development plan. And if we have made it clear to our staff what we intended when we passed the PD, they can potentially get a development plan that staff will approve without having to come all the way back and do a whole new PD.
So is
It
that
gives them a
recommendation?
path forward
Okay.
that we're working with them, you know, which people often ask us to do, to try to make it easier. But we still hold them to what we think. Now, and I'm just one person saying to me, that's the vision I sort of had. Y'all may be completely disagree with me and say, no, that's not what it was supposed to be, in which case that won't work anyway.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning that again, Commissioner Britton, because I think you're right. We do just have to decide whether or not it meets the requirements.
Well, and we would still do that.
We would still do that.
Well, let's get to it.
Giving a indication of what we would accept without having to go all the way to the PD. So, all right. Any other comments?
No, sir.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone else in the audience wishes to speak to this item? Okay, then I will close the public hearing, bring it back to the commission. My recommendation would be, if it's going to be denied, we come to a consensus of what we understood it would look like. So if they want to do another development plan, staff knows what to do with it.
And I think that condition should clearly indicate commercial on the first floor, not a home occupation, which may or may not be used as an office.
But is reconfiguring that space what you visualize as commercial? Or are you saying the entire first floor must be only commercial?
It's too much up in the air. That's not how we should be doing this.
This road is intended to be a commercial front. And I can't see that we can enforce that where it may or may not be used for commercial reasons, with the living arrangement on the same floor in the same building.
Okay. Anybody, comments from anybody else?
Well, if you force the delineation, the configuration, then they have no choice but to use it that way. If we make them separate the commercial from the living space, then
Patrick, in the microphone, dear.
it's harder to
Yeah,
deviate from your
Make sure you're using a microphone.
I know it would be difficult.
Of course, I mean, the first floor could be nothing but open commercial space, and they could still use it, not for commercial.
Right.
But don't we control whatever we tell them we want them to come back with, so they know what we want?
That was my recommendation, that we make it clear what it was, or, what is acceptable, so that they don't have to do the entire PD again. They can just submit another development plan.
We have thousands of square feet of forced commercial space in this city that's empty, literally empty. We have other thousands of commercial space that can't get completed. We are
Thousands of square feet of residential, more than we need.
the studies say we don't have enough. This is a pigeonholed property right next to other residential, right behind it. With some questionable retail space all around it. We thought the live-work concept was a good idea. I believe this is close to what we envisioned, but I do feel it falls a little short. But we don't have a code that defines it. And that's kind of what we're doing here, is trying to define it. That's what we tried to do 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. And so here we are again, trying still to define something that our code doesn't. And so people up here can criticize what we did back then, but we didn't have much guidance.
I think I got the impression that you did the right thing, but you based on an assumption that's different from the assumption that the applicant made.
So
that's why we're here.
We either need to go against staff and say that this did meet what we wanted, or we need to say that this doesn't meet what we wanted. I'm not sure I agree with either one. I'm really torn.
Well, I don't think
it doesn't.
It's not what I envisioned.
Right.
But I don't want to throw the whole thing out. I think it's still viable.
Right. And
I see this as, an attorney or an accountant, a bookkeeper.
Yes.
Who, occasionally has a client come.
Maybe a
But
seamstress.
it's clearly a separate commercial space.
Yes.
And as designed, I don't see it as
Are there
a separate
still
commercial
tables?
space.
Yes, sir.
We tried to come up with ideas to do that, but I think the only way to really do it is to redesign the space, or say, you got to go 3 stories, and the first floor, the whole thing has to be.
But I thought I understood a statement that staff limited it to 2 stories.
No.
Okay.
The pure commercial is limited to 2 stories.
Okay.
The actual ordinance for this shows a 3-story building and says first floor commercial, or first floor live work, second and third floor residential.
Okay.
So.
What did you say about ADA? Are we okay with this design from an ADA perspective?
I can't determine that, but based on the fact that it's somebody's living room, I don't know that it would meet.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't have that information. That's why I said it's ADA and fire requirements for separation between uses depending on the uses. We don't have any of that information. It's undefined because the spaces are not specifically separated.
And the only way to enforce that it will be a commercial space is to designate it. Even with the attempts in trying to reconfigure, there's no way to enforce that it would be used as a commercial space because you in your mind think that by configuring it, no one would obviously not use that space for anything other than commercial. There's no way to enforce that.
Oh, yeah, they would. I fully understand that no matter what we say or how we configure it or what sign we put on it, that does not mean a person's actually going to do what we intend them to do. And
Right, we're
I can
saying
give
the
you
same thing.
1,000 examples a day of people not doing what I would expect them to do.
Right. And so that's my point, that unless you say
Right.
with definitive that it is to be a commercial space, there's no other way to enforce that.
It's just like when we previously enforced, you have to have garages, you have to have 2-car garages.
I have
Well,
a
guess
2-car
what those
garage
are?
and there's no cars in my garage.
Guess what those are used? They're not garages.
Yeah, okay, so let's make a decision. Either consensus on what we expect, followed by a denial, or just a denial, and we'll leave them out there trying to figure out what to do.
Staff, did you have something to add?
No, we were just talking about the power lines and the easements.
Okay.
That's all. Like the design and the power line and the easements. We have other projects that we believe have parking in that easement, but
Yeah, the easement actually goes to Duke. It's not Florida Power and Light. It was originally Florida Power Corporation until the merger in the 80s, and then it went to Duke. I think we've had some successful projects with parking lots in those high-tension easement of 110 feet. The only thing we limited us, I think, was the height of the
Landscaping.
planning material, and that was it. So
they don't want any.
you may want to really revisit that easement. It may help you.
Okay.
Just throwing it out.
Okay, so
Well, the first question is there agreement on what we expected and that a clear delineation of the space so that you don't have to use the commercial space as part of your residential space, i.e. walking through the kitchen or using the stairwell? If we see that separation of space, is that what we meant?
I would like to see that at a minimum.
Okay. Is there a percentage of the downstairs that we had envisioned that should be the commercial space?
I thought the whole downstairs was supposed to be the commercial space and upstairs was supposed to be the residential.
That's what you heard during.
That's
the
what I
meeting.
heard, and I thought that I heard the mayor ask additional questions just to make sure that's what it was when he was talking about it. And the facade looked different, so it looked more like it was commercial at the bottom and residential at the top. So it kind of looked like the walkable cities. And I'm not seeing that now.
And I think at some point during that hearing, I said the entire downstairs did not have to be, but we didn't, that's not the part that was on the tape, and that's not the part where we were.
we did not say that it all had to be commercial.
All right. Anybody else want to chime in? Okay. So it sounds like we do not have a 100% consensus on what we want. Okay, I'm not sure. Can she do that? She's playing tape that we can't.
Well, I was just going back to that piece that
Yeah.
I don't think was
Okay.
in there.
Okay. Yeah, I recommend that only what has been
Yeah.
presented and we go on.
Okay.
I was wondering where the voices were
Yeah,
coming
I
from.
was too.
I thought it
You
was
heard me talking and
Right.
you
I was like, does she have a walkie-talkie?
Okay.
Do we have an option to table it and come back with additional information? Because it seems like we're both kind of up, nobody actually knows what they want to do at this point. I'm stuck on what I thought I heard the attorney tell us was beforehand. I still don't think that we should be doing configurations here at the dais. We should say yes, what we would like to see, but for us to give recommendations to the developer on how we figure out a bathroom or stairwell should be, I don't think that that's the commission's duty to do that. But is there another option, Attorney Green, for us to bring it back to the commission without it going to a denial at this point?
I mean, always continue, but
You do have
what
the
additional
option,
information will we get?
you do have the option to continue. I would also offer, and not that this is where the commission is going, but a denial is not the end to the project. So a denial says that you deem that it is not consistent with what was presented, and then the developer can go back to staff, because there's already discussions as to whether the easements may result in the parking that's desired. They can go back to staff and present something that is in compliance with what that development order provides for. Staff?
Staff is unsure what the commission is seeking, because what we have presented today is that we understood the first floor was to be the private garage for the townhomes and the rest of it commercial, with access to the upstairs units where the living occurs, for a 3-story building that was discussed at the first public hearing. So if that's not the direction, then staff needs to know what to do, because if they present anything other than that, our response is going to be deny again.
Yeah.
Because that is the way that we are.
We have to tell you what's acceptable as a
Right.
difference from what you already got.
As a commission, the direction we're moving on is the 3-story building, the requirement for commercial, or a separate commercial entity up to such and such square footage. None of that is occurring. Staff cannot approve the plans under the understanding of what we believe you approved the PD master plan to require.
Yeah. And I think that's the discussion we're having, in addition to just deny or not, is figuring out what changes we can tell you are acceptable.
Right, so either you uphold the denial and require redevelopment, PD master plan determination, and say that's it, come back with a new PD master plan. It's materially changed so much that we can't move forward. Or uphold the denial and say that this is what you expect, this is what was anticipated, this is what is going forward. 80% of the first floor, a garage, you can have a residential access to the upstairs, whatever it is that staff is supposed to be reviewing for, we need to understand. Or you can say it has not materially changed and a full residential unit across the board is acceptable to the commission as well. Those are pretty much the 3 choices.
Okay.
So what do we want this to look like? If we're gonna require a bathroom, are we gonna do that in every retail facility? And
Well,
we didn't do that in the mall?
Commercial spaces require restrooms.
There's a bunch of commercial,
Not in the, well, the mall has restrooms,
right,
shared ones.
but not every business had a bathroom.
But there was one you could use.
Okay, well, maybe, is there a clubhouse that has a bathroom that can be used? I don't know.
All right, so, I'll just pass the gavel. Pass that down. Huh?
Here you go, Vice.
So I would move to uphold the denial with the understanding that the approved PD required clear delineation between commercial space and residential space. That that 50% of the downstairs, or the first floor, should be dedicated commercial space.
Does that subtract the garage space, or does that include?
Not including garage space,
So
of the air-conditioned space.
50% of the air-conditioned
Air-conditioned
space
space.
must be dedicated to
Commercial,
something commercial. And it has to be clearly defined and separated.
yes. So that no residential access has to take place through the commercial space.
Do you want to give a minimum square footage?
No.
Because each space might be.
Yeah, because the
different in
units are
total.
different sizes.
Yeah. They only have two different proposals.
Oh,
10 units and interior units.
I'm okay with 50%. Okay. Does that cover? So they can either do 3 stories or they can reconfigure the downstairs.
And bathroom in the commercial space or not in the commercial space?
I would imagine there has to be.
The examples that you
Yeah,
showed
I mean,
from
they
the
had
other-
one,
The
yeah.
other ones had delineated walls, separate doors into bathroom spaces within. Those were in the examples that were in his PowerPoint.
Oh. Okay.
Is there a commercial facade?
There is a commercial facade that's already included, I thought. With commercial facade, commercial signage.
And then outdoor seating areas, anything like that, or nothing to that? Because the original presentations showed that.
I don't think that's required. What about the rest of y'all? I mean, these aren't going to be
It's going to be pretty
cafes.
tight as it is.
Yeah. These aren't going to be cafes.
Yeah.
So I don't think the outdoor seating is required, but pedestrian access and commercial parking included in the parking count.
In addition to the 1.5 per unit.
Mm-hmm.
And there wasn't any real change to the landscaping between the original and now. I don't think we have a concern there.
Well, the whole general layout is completely different because of
Yeah.
the way they've configured for the power lines.
Yeah.
It's no longer that triangular building on the side. It's 2 straight buildings along. See if you traded out. Never mind.
Okay.
If you look in your packet, there's 2 buildings on St. John's Parkway on the west that are now facing, as opposed to that sort of unique configuration with the amenities within. And now the amenities are pushed to Reinhardt Road, and the 2 buildings are on the front. The configuration is completely different, so the landscaping will just have to meet city code.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So it's up there now.
Mr. Hollis, will that get us in the ballpark? Does that get us in the right direction?
Yep.
Before I agree to that,
You don't have to agree, just,
some of it I couldn't hear
okay.
that well.
All right. So,
Configuration, I think what Eileen was talking about, configuration is slightly different on the 4-story area, but again, that's because of the power line issue. So we had to, that field dropped the bottom. So we were trying to figure that out along the way. So I think, respectfully, the commission makes the determinations that, you all deem appropriate, and we'll have to decide whether we can.
okay. All right, so,
Do you have a building mix of heights? 3-story, 4-story, 2-story?
the 4-story is okay.
For all 4 buildings? For all 4 multifamily buildings, 4-story?
Yeah.
And then the townhomes?
There.
I think because of the change in configuration that's okay. I'm just focusing on the live work units. Okay, so you want to read back what?
Okay. So what I have is to uphold the denial, maintain the approved PD, provide clear delineation of the commercial space separated from the residential space with a minimum of 50% commercial on the ground floor, including a bathroom, commercial signage, commercial facade, and pedestrian access, as well as commercial parking in addition to the 1.5 per residential, and then the 4-story is okay on the 4 buildings as configured in the current development plan design.
And
Okay,
it clearly
that's my
says in
motion.
there that the bathroom is in the office space park.
Right, 50% commercial with a bathroom.
Yeah, the
Okay,
bathroom
is
would
what
be
I have
included
written.
in the 50%.
That works.
Yeah.
And you referenced the parking, correct?
Right, there's commercial parking in addition to the
And it-
1.5 per residential unit.
And the percentage is based on air-conditioned space, not garage.
Okay. And now it's on recording, so I'll go after Ms. Shannon.
Okay, so that's my
later.
motion.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right,
Discussion.
discussion?
Yes.
Sorry.
I need clarification on the 50% residential. I mean, 50% commercial. So when you're saying on the first floor, 50% is commercial, what's the other 50%? What can go in there?
Residential.
Okay.
Residential. But it's a minimum 50% commercial, so depending on how they build it.
So that does not include garage or anything like that. It can just be residential, 50% commercial, 50% residential, and we technically can't enforce that.
Well, if it's delineated and there's a dividing wall, I mean, you can't really enforce it, but if it's divided and the spaces are separate, using it as a living room space is a little bit more challenging than it is as an independent space, but no, you could easily still use it as residential.
Okay.
Are we still okay with the barn door concept?
I think that this clearly delineated means more like a wall separating, not the rolling barn door. But
Is that correct?
like-
We just need to, on the
Yeah.
record, because we'll be listening
Yes.
back to this.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think,
But
it
like
should
this
not
is-
be something you can open up a barn door and make it a big space.
Right. So this right here is the floor area, taking out the garage on that ground floor. That's the whole first floor. That's 2 units right there that you're
Yeah.
looking at. So it's maybe 500-600 square feet total. And if you do half of that, that's 300 square feet of space. That's a 15 by 20 room. That's a slightly larger than, a master bedroom that you're going to dedicate for commercial space. Is that sufficient commercial space to meet the intent of a mixed-use development?
I don't like it, guys, but I'm just one person. I just think that that's just too much conflict of residential and commercial being right next to each other. If it was just on the first floor and then residential on the second and third floor, it makes sense, but nope, don't
Yeah,
like
if we
it.
had second and third floors.
I don't like the residential and commercial being just divided by a small wall. I'm really tiptoeing into your personal space. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. But we're just in discussion. But I got my clarification, thank you.
So discussion, all ayes?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Aye.
Well, I didn't hear 2 of the people vote.
Ms. Al? We're voting for the denial?
Denial with the clarification of what we expected.
Aye.
Okay,
Passed
I would call the vote again.
All right, all ayes?
Aye.
All denied?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed 3-2.
Thank you.
So you were gonna make a motion to approve it?
I'm,
You voted against the denial.
yeah,
You would have approved it.
no. I don't like the conditions.
All right, so that brings us to citizens' participation. One request, Mr. Spohr.
Evening. You're getting longer and longer, huh? Chase Spohr, 1219 Park. I've been up here the last few weeks. Each time I've been outlined what would happen next as this process continued, based on what I've seen and read in CitizenServe and what I've heard firsthand in these meetings. And recently that prediction became reality. I received the well-known orange work stop badge and notice for alleged unpermitted site work. Make the face. Code enforcement showed up while I was on site reviewing contractor bids. I also received a message expressing disappointment in my actions, going so as far as suggesting I was working over the weekend to avoid being seen. But let's be clear about what really occurred. The only work done was removing the fence line overgrowth in preparation for a pending fence permit, and removing a section of concrete for the reclaimed water meter that had already been approved by utilities and paid for in full. The fence permit itself was already in re-review, with the only outstanding items for resubmission being the COA, which had already been approved. There was no permit for removal of concrete slab for the permitting department, so everything was in process. Everything was moving forward properly, and the only areas necessary for these approvals were touched. So how did we end up with a work stop order? Exactly as they say it would. Because this process seems to be fundamentally flawed. I went before Planning and Zoning, received unanimous approval despite staff recommendations for denial, and then I was sent right back to the same staff who fought that approval. But I was expected to assume I would now be treated fairly, and that did not happen. I brought this concern to this commission, and the solution was to send me back again, this time to meet with only that same staff, with an addition of just their attorney. This is not a balanced process, this is not neutral review, and this is not due process. So I want to run through the timeline one more time. In August, I was told fencing could be handled administratively as long as it was wood. In February, I was told wood fencing was no longer historically appropriate, and was instead encouraged to consider other options, like bollards and chains, typically used for vacant properties. Despite that, we proceeded in good faith. By late February, I had partial approval of half a fence. By early March, my permit review came back with only one remaining item, the COA. By March 18th, I received that final COA, despite a recommendation for denial by staff, with only a material condition change. By March 23rd, the COA was submitted, and at that point, with a known review timeline, I moved forward with contractor pricing, which required clearing overgrowth and exposing the meter location. Then on March 30th, I received the stop work order. Now, according to code enforcement, the case was opened after an officer observed concrete removal. Here's the issue. The violation file was actually opened in February, nearly 2 months earlier, shortly after I began raising concerns publicly. And since then, nearly 200 photos have been uploaded to that file, including holidays. About every couple days, if you buy the property, take pictures. So I have to ask, what happens when the same department interpreting the code is also driving the enforcement? What happens when a property becomes the focus of nearly 2 months of ongoing monitoring after speaking at this podium? Because from what I stand, the outcome was predetermined. This didn't start with site work. It started when I challenged the process. And now as we move into this final phase, I fully expect the same pattern we've already seen. Claims that we did not submit correctly, assumption that work is being done without permits, questions about compliance, regardless of documentation. And so now we wait. The resubmittal deadline, review deadline is this Thursday, and based on how timelines have currently been interpreted and handled, I guess we'll find out what happens 5/25 this Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we allowed to ask Mr. Spore a question, or just can't do that during citizens' participation?
You can ask.
Mr. Spore, have you been given a certificate of occupancy yet?
No, that would come after we finish the permits.
Okay, so I do want to say that we as a city, we are flawed. We're terribly flawed, because whether you're wrong or right, you have come to us and told us that you're working inside the building. I remember you saying, you're trying to do everything that you can possibly to work within, the rules and everything, and maybe you were just, rambling, but you said you came in, you're working in the building, just doing your regular office stuff there. That was a violation right there, and we didn't say or do anything to you. That shows that we're flawed on our part right there. I've seen so many issues when it comes to this property. I do not understand, as your representative, what is going on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that. We were completely wrong when you came here and said that you were working inside the building. A stop work order, some kind of signage, whatever should have been done the next day. I don't think anybody on this commission even said anything, because you clearly said that you were working inside the building. We are flawed, we are wrong, and I apologize. What we have to do to get past this, at this point, I'm not really sure. I will go back to the table and meet with the planning department, with code enforcement, to figure out what's happening, but I'm at a total loss myself, and I just wanted you to know that.
I appreciate it, and what I said is I do my corporate job there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm there so often. I do take meetings when I'm there doing work of the building. So if it was misconstrued that I'm set up there doing my corporate job as my work from home, which now has been redefined tonight, that's not the case. But having to be there that often to take care of all the issues, I do take meetings as they come in, waiting for contractors in between. That was the intent of my statement. And as many times as I'm up here, and as frustrated as I am, it did come off that code enforcement said they thought I was working there and occupying the building. What am I going to do, occupy the building? There's no work to be done. There's no actual revenue to be made from working there. What I'm doing there is handling what needs to be done from a contractor, bid, and maintaining the building of any work that's been done without permits that's allowable without a CO, and that's all that's being done.
Mr. Spore, please don't leave the microphone, because I'd like to clarify something. I met with Mr. Spore and the rest of staff. As far as having an attorney, you're always free to bring one. I never want to give you the indication that you can't. I extended myself because I want to see this project seen through. During that meeting, you acknowledged that you were on site working. I sent an email to Mr. Spore within days of him coming before this board and stating that he was working within the building, to advise him that he was getting a complimentary warning not to do so, so that there would be no issues or concerns, rather than simply have code enforcement go out there and issue a violation. I sent him that friendly reminder and also met and discussed that. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clear.
Thank you, Attorney Green.
Yeah, I think you said I better have nails in my mouth if I was on the property. I understand that conversation very well. It was misheard, and I probably misspoke legally. But I was there, and every time I am there, and you can even check, I got a work log of everything I do every time I'm there, because we follow the data. So there's no occupying the building. So we can exaggerate all we want and say I misspoke. But at the end of the day, being told when you call where this violation to stop work came from?
Chase, stop the madness. Do you understand what certificate of occupancy means?
Yes.
That means you're not supposed to be doing anything inside that building.
You cannot have a building go into disrepair per Schedule S. You can't even have moss grow on your building. How are you supposed to stop that?
You said you are there working, doing your other job. That's occupying
I
the building.
take phone calls there while I maintain the building and handle the contractors to keep this project alive while I'm being bled out. That's all I'm doing.
Mr. Bonaparte, can you please schedule a meeting with Mr. Raimondo Mrs. Henson, Mr. Spoor, Mr. Combs, and try to find, oh, I'm sorry, Attorney Green, and try to find a path forward or done.
I believe they have done that.
Nobody showed up except for them.
I know that,
And
I know that.
I just wanted to add, what Mr. Spoor also stated during that meeting is that the reason why he was present is because he was concerned about vandalism at night, to which also in my email, I extended that we would be in contact with law enforcement, with the police department, and give him extra surveillance during the evening if in fact that was his concern. I have addressed every single concern that Mr. Spoor has raised and made it clear, rather than just going, you know, let's go through code enforcement, explain to him what his rights and obligations are.
I understand. I would like to see this move forward.
We would all like to see this,
And I have asked for the same thing, Commissioner Austin.
but it takes two sides to do the right thing.
I completely agree. I asked Mr. Spoor probably a year ago to meet with our ombudsman and try to help him get through the P&Z effort. He never did it.
I met with
So-
Amy multiple times.
So there has been some disconnects all along. The finger pointing needs to stop. We need to find a way forward or not. Please.
Commissioner, we'll go forward. And I will make myself available for another meeting. Your
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Victoria Huggins asked that something be read. My name is Victoria Huggins, 2493 Orange Avenue. I would like to speak about the golf cart zone and specifically Mellonville Avenue. A traffic study referenced by Cecil Smith indicated approximately 5,000 plus cars travel in Mellonville. Based on that number, it was determined the road should not be included in the golf cart zone. However, I respectfully disagree with that conclusion. If you think of all the events held in this town, from the Light Up Sanford Parade, Pints and Paws, and many masters I could go on any given event, I would venture to say there are well over 8,000 plus cars on roads that golf carts are on all the time and safely. The reasoning presented by Chief Smith is not just accurate or fair to all the residents who need to use Mellonville. I have researched it. When Mellonville was on the map from 2013 to 2019, there was not zero golf cart accident on Mellonville during that time. Mellonville is a 25 mile per hour neighborhood road all the way from 25th to Seminole, just like Park Avenue, Elm Avenue, Sanford Avenue, and Oak Avenue. All streets where golf carts already operate safely. Many of us live by Mellonville. We know the traffic patterns, the neighborhoods, and the daily conditions. Children ride their bicycles, families walk their dogs, and kids skateboard on Mellonville every single day. It is part of our neighborhood life, and it functions like the other streets already in the golf cart zone. Putting Mellonville back into the golf cart zone would allow residents to safely access community events, including activities at historic Sanford Memorial Stadium, Triplet Center, as well as support our downtown businesses and gatherings. 1, if Mellonville is safe for our children on bicycles and skateboards every day, it should be safe for golf carts to drive on. 2, connectivity creates safety, and right now Mellonville is the missing link in Sanford's golf cart map. Sanford has a strong and positive golf cart community. Golf cart consistently supports local businesses, city events, and community activities. Whenever organizations ask for help, we show up. We are proud of the role we play in bringing people together and supporting our city. What we are asking for tonight is simple: for either the mayor or commissioner to make a motion to put Mellonville back on the map and vote on it. Please do what is right and fix this once and for all. Sincerely, Victoria Huggins.
Oh my God.
Right. And I was pulling up old maps. I'm not sure Mellonville from Celery to 25th was ever on the map. It just wasn't marked. Neither was 25th Street when the original map was made. So 25th Street clearly wasn't on the map. So, okay, just wanted that clarification.
I'm not going to go against our professional public safety official.
We have made tweaks.
I fought for the crossover of 1792. We paid for the DOT study. DOT said it was okay, and we did it. But I'm not going to go against Chief Cecil Smith and his staff if they feel Mellonville is not appropriate. There are plenty of roads that are used. Golf carting is not a right in this city. It's a privilege. And a whole lot of this city doesn't get to use a golf cart. They don't have a golf cart zone at all. Where I used to live was not a golf cart zone. Lake Mary Boulevard's not a golf cart zone.
Yeah, she raises some fair points, but I agree with you that the expert is the chief.
Is there anyone else in the audience wish to speak to the commission? Okay. Close public comment and go on to regular items. A, subrecipient agreement with Sanford Airport Authority. Oh, that's why y'all been sitting here all this time.
They're so patient.
You did the amendment to the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
And they didn't just leave George here alone.
Yeah, we did A, B, and C.
Well, yes.
Or another item.
Yep. Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission. The city staff is requesting that the City Commission approve a subrecipient agree with the Sanford Airport Authority for the management and administration of a $1.6 million grant fund awarded by the United States Department of Housing and Community Development to the Sanford Airport Authority for the expansion and reconfiguration of a master sewer water pond.
Questions or motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion?
Good
All
night.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously.
Well, we should have made George speak.
Do you have any comments, George? Nicole, would you like to say anything? You can leave now.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Approve the procurement to Sandtech.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, city staff is requesting that the commission approve the procurement of Phase 1 installation of a water main, new infrastructure and hydrants to Sandpec for the Pine Way Water Main Infrastructure Project in the amount of $558,725.
Questions or motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Increased purchase order 42-154.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, the city staff is requesting commission approval of the procurement and subsequent purchase order number 42154, increase in an amount not to exceed $1.5 million to Sandpec Construction for the sewer line reconstruction rehabilitation under the grant LPA 0554.
Move to approve.
Second.
And so the reason we're increasing the purchase order is because we got the grant.
Yep.
Is that correct? Okay.
Yay.
And, okay.
Hallelujah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Resolution 3472.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, city staff is recommending the commission approve resolution number 3472, approving a loan repayment from the Mayfair Golf Course Fund to the general fund in the amount of $7,523,126.29.
Questions or motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, my question about this one is, in our very next item, we're being asked to earmark $3 million towards the golf course, after we said we were going to repay back the $7 million. Are we repaying the additional $3 million, or are we just repaying? And I'm asking this as a policy decision for us.
Well,
Wait, let me finish. So the idea on the $7 million was to pay back the clubhouse.
Right.
Okay. So now we're talking about putting other funds in. I think they want to do it for irrigation and stuff.
Irrigation.
Is that funds
Desperately
we're
needed.
expecting that the city is putting towards the golf course
Well,
to?
historically, the city has neglected the golf course,
Well,
but yet it has
They
survived.
didn't run it.
The city has owned it its entire life. The city has neglected that golf course.
Because it was under
Hence,
lease.
why the clubhouse was irreparable and inoperable when we finally decided to take it down and build a new one.
And it would be a shame to have that brand-new clubhouse and a golf course that can't be played because it's so far gone with no irrigation that we can't recover.
Irrigation out there is ancient and needs to be redone.
I agree with that.
And the whole idea of selling the surplus property was to get money
Okay,
to continue to fix up the golf course.
all right.
If you want the golf course to pay back the city for everything forever, then we need to do that with the parks, we need to do that with the civic center, we need to do
Mr.
that.
Austin, because these two were right next to each other, I asked the question. Yeah. Okay? I'm not proposing anything, I'm not arguing anything. I was asking the question. I'm the one that had to go in and start the initial conversation to try to get the golf course back. I am fully aware of the history of the golf course. Okay? And I am fully support making sure it is a world-class course. I was just asking the question since these were right next to each other, and I figured it would come up.
Yep.
Okay?
Fair question.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Resolution 3474.
Staff is requesting the commission approve Resolution 3474 to amend the land donation agreement between the Central Florida Urban League and the city and allow for a 24-month extension.
I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. We should be on 3473, sorry.
That's what I thought.
Staff, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, staff is requesting that the commission approve the declaration of the land surplus and approve a purchase and land agreement of city-owned land located at 401 and 409 Placid Lake Drive and earmark these funds for improvements at the Mayfair Golf Course.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. We had talked about requiring some, who am I talking to? Mr. Radzak? That we were going to make sure there was park space there. Are we holding back space for a city-owned park? Or is it part of the agreement that the development will provide a park?
I think the buyer's well aware of the desire for a park there, but it's not going to be a city-owned, I don't think. But I think there's going to be plans. I think he's going to rezone, and I don't want to speak for the buyer, but I think he has plans to rezone. So as part of that PD process, you could require a park. And you want to?
Yeah.
Zach Miller, 8241 Via Bonita. We do not intend to actually rezone because it's already MR3, which would allow townhomes, but we're going to come back with single families, but that's not what we're here to discuss. I understand you want to hear the park. My intention was to get the development done and then dedicate the park back to you guys. Is that not what you wanted?
No, that's fine.
Oh, okay. That's the way I understood it.
Is
And
that a
if
requirement of the sale?
No, it isn't.
But the development will come back before you, and then you'll say, here's my plan for the park.
Where are we gonna put a park there?
There was.
Well, I'm buying it in addition to the 16 acres behind me, so it's 32 acres back
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
So it's,
We're not putting a park right up next to the cemetery.
no.
It'd be closer
I mean, the
to,
space we talked about was right outside of Placid Woods off to the left.
Right.
closer to
Yeah.
Lake
All right.
Reservoir, wasn't it, Zach?
Okay.
Well, either closer, there's two places we've talked about. It's maybe closer to the reservoir lake, or closer, like you said, just as you come in, just to the left.
Oh, yeah.
Because it narrows down.
Now
right
that you
there.
have the other property, I understand that.
Say that again?
Yeah,
I didn't
that
know you
makes
were
sense.
buying the other property.
Can we make that a condition?
Yeah, we can do a memorandum of understanding.
But it won't, the acquisition will happen, well, no, you'll see the development plan before then. I'm not sure how you police the parks, other than, like I said, I'm planning on giving you guys a park when it's all said and done, and that'll be part, well, Eileen's gone, but she'll be able to review that,
I'll
to
work
see
with
that we're
Eileen
doing a park.
on getting that confirmed.
Okay. All right.
I think Eileen has something to say.
Oh.
She's not completely gone.
She's not gone.
She's partially gone after today.
I thought he meant you were retiring.
Not yet.
No, Eileen cannot retire.
No, I am not gone. I just wanted to make sure that I am still here. You will have to rezone. You will have to rezone because even though it's MR3 and you're doing single family cannot be constructed. You will not want to construct single family to the minimum standards required in MR3. So you're going to have to rezone.
I mean, we can, that's not a discussion for here, right?
No,
So,
but
well,
that
we can
is-
talk to that pre-app,
Right,
So-
so that moving forward would be an avenue for
to get the park.
dedication of the park.
Right.
Okay.
One way or the other, I'm gonna dedicate a park.
We are approving
Thank you.
E.
Thank you,
What's
Zach.
in front of us?
Okay.
Oh, Lord.
All right, we had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Now,
Urban League.
Resolution 3474.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, staff is recommending Commission approve Resolution 3474 to amend the land donation agreement provided in the Resolution 2023-3105, and thus approving a 24 extension for the Central Florida Urban League to construct a building, and it will go, they have until May 8th of 2026.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and second, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Resolution 3475.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the city staff is requesting commission approval of Resolution 3475, amending the classification pay plan. This request is to reclassify one full-time equivalent utility support service manager position in Public Works Utilities Department to one temporary full-time equivalent senior engineer position in the Public Works Department. There's no fiscal impact, and the purpose is to allow for someone to shadow the retiring utility engineering manager.
All right, questions or motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Resolution 3476.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, city staff is requesting commission approval of a budget amendment resolution 3476 relating to the Fort Millen Park Amphitheater project for changes to the engineering, design, structure, and installation of a 40-foot by 30-foot constellation to accommodate the audio, visual, and lighting from the Community Redevelopment Agency's budget reserves to the city budget in the amount of $23,340.
Move to approve.
Second. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Resolution 3477.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, City Commission, the city staff is requesting the commission approve Resolution 3477 to amend the budget amount of $6,500 for the procurement of smoke detectors, safety equipment, and fire safety information flyers.
Move to approve.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Resolution 3478.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Commission, city staff is recommending City Commission approve Resolution 3478 to amend the budget in the amount not to exceed $300,000 and authorize procurement to services a budget tree service for citywide tree trimming and mitigation.
Questions or motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously.
Did we go over the Urban League? Did we vote on
We
it?
missed that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know we did that.
Here we go.
We did.
City attorney comments.
I just wanted to make you, mayor and city commissioners, aware that they're under section 70.51 Florida statutes, if a developer receives a development order that believe infringes on some right of theirs, they can institute special magistrate proceedings in order to try and reach a resolution. There's also a mediation component. If it's not resolved in that conciliatory process, then the developer has the ability to seek an appeal through the circuit court. With regard to the properties at 809 and 817 Locust, those were the properties in the Georgetown area that were built to grade. And the denial order was entered. The landowners have asked for to go through those special magistrate proceedings. I have a meeting with the attorneys tomorrow to see if there is some way to resolve that issue. That process has also been initiated with regard to the 7-Eleven. We just received a letter a couple of days ago that they are seeking to go through that proceeding that is set forth in 7.51 to see if and what happens through that process is both parties appoint a special magistrate. That special magistrate will then hold a mediation to see if there's a way to resolve it. If it's not resolved at mediation, then the special magistrate holds proceedings to give recommendations or suggestions as to how to resolve it. If it is not resolved at that point, then the developer can seek an appeal through the appellate process. The whole reason why Florida has this process is to see if matters can be resolved prior to legal action being pursued. So those are the two matters that are pending, and I'm working on those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
City Clerk.
We have a few boards that we have folks that have given resignations, so I'm gonna be looking for, we have two on P&Z. Victoria Wilson and Mr. Fonseca have given notice, and I have gotten verbal communication from the records keeper of the minutes for PAC that Ms. Williams no longer wishes to serve on the Public Art Commission. But I haven't officially received a resignation, so it's possible that that's coming as well. And then Ms. Britton will have a CDBG appointment at the next meeting.
Commissioner Austin still have one?
Yeah. I was supposed to do that a meeting ago, I think. What was the gentleman's name? He's a pastor?
Oh, Mr. Light God.
Do I have an application on?
Yes. Yeah,
Yep.
he came before us already.
Yep, he's been on the board before.
Duncan.
Duncan.
Samuel Duncan.
Samuel Duncan.
Look at you, Mayor.
I moved
For CDBG.
to,
For CDBG?
yes. Yeah. I moved to, appoint, Samuel Duncan to CDBG.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously.
So we have two P&Zs?
Yes.
And one more CDBG.
And one more CDBG.
And possibly PAC.
Okay. Anything else? City Manager's report?
Nothing this evening.
Okay. I'm gonna do a couple of things first, but I lost my, there it is. I had suggested at our March 28th meeting, that I would ask for somebody to make a motion to rename the Welcome Center, in honor of former Mayor Linda Kuhn. Am I willing to do that?
I object.
Sorry?
I object to that. I thought, Mayor, that it was going to go on the agenda. When you brought it to us, that way the people of the community know. I just have a question of why did it change for you? Because I remember when I asked for Commissioner Mahaney to maybe have a conference room named after her, after all that she had given to the city of Sanford, the employees, spending her own money year after year, and she had been on the commission for more than a decade. You said that you were completely against it. When Commissioner Austin was trying to get the Jeff Triplett Center, you were against it then, but that was brought. You said it verbatim. You said, because I asked the question when I asked about Patty, and you said, well, instead of that, you wanted to do something with the Art Commission. And I said, but we named the Jeff Triplett Center after Mayor Triplett, and you said, well, I was against that as well. You said it on the record. You did. So and you have said it several times that you are against naming buildings. So I just wanted to know what changed, and if you want to do that in honor of the former mayor, then it should be an agenda item. That way, the people of Sanford, especially because it's going in District 1, there won't be any confusion. There won't be anyone saying that that's just a friend or what have you. I thought that it would just be on the agenda and not just a part of the commissioner report.
If it was. The naming of something has never been on an agenda.
Okay.
And actually, as far as my time, it's never been brought up to the commission before the motion was made. So
my recommendation is it just because it hasn't been done, it should be done because it's a public building, because you said that you did not agree with it before, and a plaque was more fitting, then a plaque could still be fitting now. However, if you would like to do that, then I just suggest because we've had to change street names back because of issues while I was here on the dais, if a building is going to be named after someone, especially when I asked for at least a conference room to be named after a commissioner, and you said that you were completely against it, then maybe it should go as an agenda item. If there is no objection to it, then by all means, in honor of the former mayor, because of what you shared with us at the previous meeting, I don't object. But I really thought that it would be somewhere on the consent agenda or something to be made public. Now it's on the commission to make a motion, but that's just my 2 cents.
I move to name the Welcome Center the Linda Kuhn Welcome Center.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any further discussion?
Just whether or not there might be some precedent to doing something like an agenda item for this in the future.
I don't have a
We
problem
probably
with
don't
that.
know.
I always had a problem with it being brought up with no discussion or no knowledge in
Yeah.
advance. That's why I specifically brought it up at that work session, so that it would not be a surprise. I remember I think my very first meeting, I think almost one of the first motions was to name the swimming pool after Mayor Dale.
So this has been consistent as far as how we have
The
done it.
naming of the Triplet Center was just a motion made that night. There had been no knowledge of it before. I mean,
So we don't know about other
No,
cities and what
it was conversation before, because I remember asking Commissioner Austin because I was not privy to the health issues. So I remember saying, well, what is the big deal? We can just wait on it. And so we had discussed it prior to that. And then we actually had another meeting to talk about the signage and what would be what versus Jeff Triplett and Tim Raines. We had multiple conversations, and I remember you saying no.
No, we had discussions about the sign. But anyway, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passed unanimously. Thank you. And I'll wait on the rest of the items. Commissioner Britton?
So although the Lake Monroe flows into the St. Johns River that flows north to Jacksonville, the Jacksonville Jaguars will not be playing here, practicing here, downtown Sanford. It was, I believe, an April Fool's thing. The only reason I'm bringing it before the commission and making it public is because I was tagged in it, it was forwarded to me, and even before this very commission meeting, one of my constituents asked me about it just to make sure. So I want it to be known that we appreciate a very good joke, but the Jaguars will not be practicing in our beautiful downtown Sanford. Please remember that the garden tour is this weekend, and let's all remember to support local. The Guild does a great job with that. And I will be attending the FBC Leo conference this week, and I'll be sure to bring back a report. And that concludes the District 1 report.
Commissioner Wiggins?
Next Thursday, I'll be having my community meeting at West Side, 6 p.m. I'll be in the multi-purpose room as always, but over in the gym, Mr. Henderson's going to have Department of Juvenile Justice there with the GAP event. All are welcome, and the GAP event is going to have law enforcement, our very own SPD, as well as the Sheriff Department, and it's to bridge the gap between youth, adults, and law enforcement, and that's going to start at 6 as well. So please spread the word. They'll be both running at the same time. Food giveaway be that next Friday at the Mother Ruby Wilson Park at 3 p.m. And then that Saturday, the 25th, I know majority of you men have already signed up. If you haven't, it's still room. You can go on the city website, Mr. Henderson's website, the Boys to Men Social. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Last year we had about 170-some elementary boys to grown men there, so I know some of you guys have signed up. You can go to the page and sign them. You can't bring your wife with you, but you can come as well, brother, all right? You got it, man? All right, that's it.
Commissioner Austin.
If y'all remember, a few months ago, I asked, the city to sponsor the rescue outreach mission, fundraiser, at the airport on the 24th. I've been notified, due to our sponsorship, we have some tickets to the event. If anyone is interested, let me know and I will send you the link. Otherwise, I'll be sending it to Norton to share with, staff.
I'd like to go.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right, okay.
When is it?
It's the 24th.
I'll be out of town.
This month?
That's why we planned it that day.
Damn it.
This month?
Yes. I thought it was the
24th of
same night
April?
as your thing, but it's not.
24th.
24th. Second of all, I would like, I'm not gonna be too specific on how this is accomplished, but I would like a public discussion and maybe a work session, well, obviously probably a work session. I want to know the status of the project in front of Winn-Dixie, the project, or the multiple projects downtown Sanford here that are started and not completed. And there's another one, but I'll just start with those three. I would like a workshop discussion on why those are stalled. I don't want any finger pointing. I don't want any blame game. I just want the facts of why we can't get these projects across the finish line and what we are doing to do that.
Okay, the one-
901 Park was on the list, but they're off for now. But the proposed Greek restaurant in front of Winn-Dixie is started and installed. We know about the Mark Nation project, started and stopped. And we know about the Palmetto, started and stopped. And I don't care about the finger pointing. I don't want the blame game. I just want the facts discussed of where we're at and what we're doing to try to accomplish these projects from the city side.
The three projects I have, the one at Winn-Dixie, in front of Winn-Dixie, the Mark Nation, and the Palmetto Avenue.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And are there any I'm forgetting about in any other districts? Please speak up.
The McGee construction on the corner,
McKee?
on the corner of First and by the Palucci building. Workspace Collective.
That's not the Palucci building.
No, the next to Palucci Park. Mhm.
Next to the park. Okay. The Workspace Collective on First Street. Is that a good enough description? I remember that now. Thank you. Anything else? We're not gonna discuss them all. We know them all, so don't mention it. Don't.
Not gonna say.
So we're getting an indoor pickleball facility.
I saw that,
That's
man.
right.
Is that exciting? All right. And then the other thing is, I believe everybody got this email, but I'm gonna be the one to lead the cause like I was last year. Odyssey of the Mind team from Hamilton Elementary has qualified for, has qualified for the World Championships again. They're in the fundraising mode.
Yeah, you're behind already sent them money.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Without our approval?
Yep.
You said personal.
Yeah, it's money.
All right.
Oh, well, you do what you want to do.
Count.
You're rich.
No, I'm glad you raised that. because I
But
wasn't
anyway,
going to.
I would like to designate $1,000 of my
Second.
funds. Miss Lindsay, I think I still have that much?
For a public
You don't want to do $1,000 of Commissioner?
Well,
Wiggins?
no, hold on. $1,000 of my funds, 67,000 of Commissioner
There
Wiggins'
you go.
funds.
No, but I want to get 500.
Okay.
Okay.
And based upon a public purpose,
Pur-
and that
public purpose?
being education and youth.
Yes.
Yes. I'm going for 5. I still got about 7,000, right?
Okay, it's crazy. I
Okay.
would also, it's in District 1, would like to contribute $500 for a public purpose.
Thank you all.
For
Thank
the
you.
Odyssey.
Thank you. Commissioner Thomas.
I'm just waiting for you to be done. And another
Let's get it all in
500,
one motion.
and another 500 from District
And
4.
another
For a
500.
public purpose.
Man, this is a good night. I was frustrated, now I'm not.
1,000 and 500.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Any opposed?
And for the public, they did really well last year.
Yes, they did.
And almost won. So, I
And this is
I got
nothing
high
to sneeze
hopes.
at. Yeah,
No,
this is a
and
big deal.
It's a really cool event, where you have to use your mind, and some science, and some art, and, it's really neat.
It's amazing.
And DSK Law will contribute $500.
Oh, wow.
Well.
Thank you. There you go. There we go.
Thumbs up for that, right, Carol?
There we go. How about Grandma in the back?
All right. Anything else, Commissioner
Wrap
Austin?
this up. Wrap this up. I have no idea.
Sorry? Oh, is that where they're doing a fundraiser? Okay, Ford's Garage? Okay. Thursday night, Ford's Garage fundraiser for Hamilton Elementary Odyssey of the Mind. Be there, or be square.
Be there and have that Model A. I heard that's a good burger.
All right.
Okay, that's
Anything
it.
else, Commissioner Thomas?
I got my formal invitation to the Florida League of Cities Leadership class. And that is for those who've done 1 and 2. So this is the next phase of that. Oh, well.
I've already done
it. He's already done it. So May 14th and 15th in Orlando, so I can drive to it. FYI, unless anybody has any issues with that, I'd like to go. I'm telling you, I'm going. T3 will do our usual. Well, Hamilton Odyssey of the Mind, you stole my thunder there. Thank you to Nikki and Tiara for a wonderful Goldsboro beautification project.
Very
That
good.
was, I mean, it's just so rewarding to just get your hands in the dirt and feel like you're making a difference. So kudos to both of you. She's still here, wherever she is.
Sorry I couldn't make it.
That's it for me.
I was going to mention Goldsboro, but you did that, so I only have one left. I've been talking to Julie about doing grants for the Civic Center, historic preservation grants. We think it would be wise to do the National Register application for the Civic Center. So I'd like to move forward with that. I don't know if that requires a vote or just a consensus. It basically just, when you're doing a historic preservation grant, it looks a lot better if your building is on the National Register. We could also consider making it a local historic landmark.
It's not already?
No. I don't believe it is. We'll have to check.
I thought you said when Grant was president. That's a
Yeah, I
long
thought so
time
too.
ago.
I thought so too.
Yeah, we'll double check. Okay, we'll double check.
Now that does not put any protections on that building.
Only if federal money is involved.
Okay.
If federal money is involved, you have to go through some extra steps before you
Okay.
do something. So yes, it's certainly not the strong protection people think it is.
Right. Well, I learned that when I tried to put it on the Mayfair years ago, when we knew these issues were coming.
Okay. So consensus to do that?
Yes.
Effort to do that? Okay.
Oh, just a question. Consensus or should be a vote?
Consensus will be fine because you're just applying, correct?
Right.
Yeah, consensus
So
is
As
appropriate.
long as the minutes reflect that.
Okay. And with that, we are adjourned.
Okay.
Take care, Ben.
Oh.
Good night, until we meet again. Adios, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.